Hello and welcome to WGTC Radio, the official podcast of entertainment website We Got This Covered. I'm Jonathan Lack.
And I am Sean Chapman.
And we are here to talk about stuff in the truest sense of the term because it's a very random stuff kind of episode.
Yeah, just stuff everywhere.
So
all kinds of stuff.
So we played more Persona music.
It's what we do. When we don't know what else to do, we just play Persona music. Or if we have a Persona podcast, we also obviously then play Persona music.
So mostly we play Persona music.
Yeah. I mean, yes, in my everyday life, that proves true.
So, it's pretty good. I have been having to do a lot of driving recently, and good God, I have gone through the Persona 3 Reincarnation album about 10 dozen times. It is so great.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of walking recently, but I don't like walking with headphones in, so unfortunately I can't do that.
But you still have opportunities to listen to the music?
Yes, I do make use of those opportunities constantly.
Okay, well, very good to know. All right. Listeners, we this week are going to be talking about mainly Gamescom, because that happened last week. We learned the PS4 release date and a bunch of other details, and there were some other tidbits along the way.
Yes,
there
were.
But mostly this was this was Sony's week in terms of dominating news cycles for games.
Yeah, without a doubt. Because now, Gamescom is over, so awards are coming out. Sony won everything. Obviously they had best console reveal and all that bullshit. So
So this will be another episode. Video game wise, we'll be talking about Sony. Hopefully there'll be some Microsoft news to cover soon.
Yeah, they'll probably just be like, hey, we're making the Xbox One cartridge base now. That's how far back we're reversing everything about our console.
Yes,
it's fucking cartridges.
But you still have to install them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I'm still waiting for them to put the VHS player in the Xbox One. It's big enough you can fit one right in there.
Right. They call it the Xbox One. It's supposed to be your all-in-one media hub. So I can't. So what? I can't play my old shitty Godzilla tape that just says the 2 Godzilla movies on it that we recorded off of fucking TV. That's not all in one, right?
Well, and I was talking to my brother about this the other day. If you ever go into a high school or university classroom, you see the DVD VHS combo player, right?
Yes.
Where is the Blu-ray VHS combo player? Universities would buy that. The Xbox One would corner the market on universities.
Yes.
Not anyone else, but they would corner the market on universities.
So they would sell some consoles then.
Yes. My film classroom would totally have an Xbox One, because the teacher who doesn't know how to use technology could use the VHS player, and the teacher who does could use the Blu-ray player.
It's perfect. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so this is a pretty long introduction. We're going to talk Gamescom, we're going to talk the recent Batman news, and moreover, the dumbass reaction to it.
Yeah.
I've been getting flamed out on the internet for my reaction to that on the article on We Got This Covered, but we'll cover that soon. And we're going to talk some other stuff. Sean's going to talk a little bit about Assassin's Creed 3.
Yes, which I finished since the last podcast.
Why don't you just go off and do that?
Okay, yeah, because I really want to talk about Assassin's Creed 3, because...
And you will have a chance to play it soon if you have a PlayStation 3, and if you didn't want to pay for it, it'll be on PlayStation Plus next month.
Yes, in September, so
yeah.
There you go. And I highly recommend it. I think Assassin's Creed 3 has gotten a really bad rap, honestly, by a lot of people who've played it. On the internet, it's one of those where I think I have, it was good that I did not play the game right when it came out. It's been almost a year. I think it came out last October, and so... I'm away from all of the hype and everything around the game, because for those who don't know a lot about the Assassin's Creed franchise, this is why I really like Assassin's Creed, but I hate, I love and hate Assassin's Creed, the franchise, so much, because it is so fucking weird. It is such a bizarre goddamn franchise, because it started out with Assassin's Creed 1, which I think came out in 2006 or 2007, pretty early this generation, on the PS3 and the Xbox 360 and the PC, and... It was sort of like Ubisoft, taking, this step into the next generation with, this big franchise, and Assassin's Creed 1 was a shitty fucking game. It was a shitty fucking game that should have been awesome, because the fundamentals of, the controls and the idea around, how you actually played the game were really fucking cool, with all the parkour and the combat system. It's not like God of War, but it's more like Arkham City, and it's just, it's not hard and challenging, but it's just kind of fun and engaging. And so Assassin's Creed 1 should have been great. They had a great system, built up for it, and then it just, completely fell apart because they gave you basically 4 missions that you repeated over and over and over and over and over for the entire, 15-hour-long game. And it was fucking unbearable. And I beat that game twice. I still don't know why. I played Assassin's Creed twice to completion.
Really?
Yeah, I gave this whole spiel in much more detail on a previous podcast where because I played Assassin's Creed 1 when it came out, fucking hated it. But then, I think 2 years later, Assassin's Creed 2 came out. I played Assassin's Creed 2. Assassin's Creed 2 is fucking awesome because it has all the good shit from Assassin's Creed 1, but they actually made a game out of it. So it's like, this is really cool. And then I was really excited after playing Assassin's Creed 2, so I was like, well, I still have Assassin's Creed 1. Maybe if I play it now, like away from having it been launched and all that stuff, maybe I can see something good in it. No, still fucking sucks. I hate that fucking game. Assassin's Creed 2 is awesome. But then Ubisoft did something really weird, because even though Assassin's Creed 1 sucks, it sold like crazy. So Assassin's Creed 1 is a very, very financially successful franchise. So then the next year, they decided, hey, Activision is getting ungodly amounts of money with their Call of Duty franchise, which they annualized after Call of Duty, like, I guess 2, right? Because Call of Duty 3 came out the next year with their sort of like 2-studio system. And so Ubisoft looked at Activision and was like, well, we can fucking do that with our awesome game, Assassin's Creed. There's one major difference, is that Assassin's Creed is a story-heavy franchise. Not to say that the story is good. It is definitely not good. But it is very story-heavy, because it's sort of set in the past, and you have like all these historical settings, and you have characters. You know, Call of Duty games obviously have stories, but it's super light and thin. You don't need to pay attention to it at all. So they decided to annualize Assassin's Creed 3, or Assassin's Creed, even though it's a story-based franchise, which means you should not annualize it in any way. But so then the next year, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood came out, and I played that, and I was like, this is still a good game, but I just played this game last year, and the story's not as good, because there's not Ezio as a character, the star of the Assassin's Creed 2 games. His story got told in Assassin's Creed 2, like, the important bits got told. And they started, like, layering on new mechanics in Brotherhood. Then Assassin's Creed Revelations came out the next year. I waited a bit after it came out, and I was like, well, I can get it cheap now. So I picked that up for cheap. And then we all know the story about Assassin's Creed Revelations with me, where, one, it's not as good. Like, the setting of Constantinople is really restrictive and small compared to the other games. The story's not as interesting. The meta story just doesn't progress at all. And then when I got to the very end of the game loaded up in the first cutscene, overwrote my save file, the only save file you're allowed to keep for the game, and that save is now perpetually at 15 hours played, 1% completed. So, fuck Assassin's Creed Revelations for all kinds of reasons. But then the next year, Assassin's Creed 3 came out, and Assassin's Creed 3 was like, now it's number 3, and they made a huge deal out of this when it was coming out, because it's like, Ezio's done, we're dropping the Ezio character, because we fucking milked the shit out of the Renaissance setting, and now we're bringing it into the American Revolution. We've got a new protagonist, Connor, who's like half British, half Native American, and it's going to be fucking awesome. And it's like, we've been working on this game since Assassin's Creed 2 came out. And like, you know, they made a huge deal out of all of that. Then Assassin's Creed 3 came out, got a very lukewarm reception, and it's the kind of lukewarm reception where the critics are like, yeah, it's a pretty good game, and then the fans are like, fuck everything about this, because video game fans are
one way or the other. They're binary.
Yeah, exactly. They are very extreme in their opinions. You don't go on the internet and find someone talking about a video game. They're like, it was okay. They're just like, yeah, no, this is the worst fucking thing that has ever happened to anything ever I have ever witnessed in my entire life. Like, they have ruined the Assassin's Creed franchise as a beloved franchise, because Assassin's Creed 3, some of it's kind of disappointing, and some of it is kind of disappointing. But so that's my history with Assassin's Creed, in as brief detail as I can provide. And so with Assassin's Creed 3, I went into it knowing that most people didn't like it, knowing that even though I really like Assassin's Creed 2, I have much more negative opinions on all the other games in the series other than Assassin's Creed 2. Most people consider Brotherhood to be the best game of the franchise. I don't think so. But, so Assassin's Creed 3 came out, I went into it, this game is way better than people give it credit for. Because first of all, it's the best Assassin's Creed game since 2, because they actually did put in like legitimate new mechanics. They fixed problems that the series had for a long time. The combat is way, way better than it ever had been. The combat's, in my opinion, is just as good as the combat in an Arkham Asylum or an Arkham City. Whereas the other Assassin's Creed games, it was sort of like, you know, a shitty version of the Arkham City style combat. And this all, like, even though it kind of feels like the Arkham style combat and sort of like the rhythm and countering and stuff, it's got its own unique flavor. You've got, like, you can use pistols and stuff, and that's really fun. And by the time you get to the end of the game, you have like a brace with 2 pistols that both have double barrels, so you can just shoot 4 times without having to reload, which just can level whole platoons. It's awesome. The combat in the game is way better. The setting, I think, is really interesting. They make really good use of the American Revolutionary setting because, first of all, Ubisoft is a Canadian-based studio, so you don't get any, like, sort of, like, rah, America, we are the greatest. Like, that's not here. You have a lot of, looking at, hey, George Washington, not a really good military commander, really at all. The dude had a very charismatic presence, shitty military commander. It's a fucking miracle we won the Revolutionary War. Also, the way we treated the Native Americans, especially the way George Washington treated the Native Americans, not great. Really not. Especially after we won the Revolutionary War. Really not nice how we treated the Native Americans. To put it lightly, genocide, to put it accurately.
Johnny Depp playing Tonto.
Exactly. It's worse than genocide. But, yes.
Not really, disclaimer, not really worse than genocide.
Joking. Yeah. But so, yeah, they make really, like, I think, mature use of the American Revolutionary setting, and I personally find that setting the most interesting out of all of them because I like that period in history. Although one complaint I have with it is that, and this is kind of a complaint and kind of not, is that they don't, Assassin's Creed 2, it's set in, like, the 15th century in Italy, so, of course, Leonardo da Vinci is like your crazy inventor companion dude. He's like your Q, basically. This really quirky, like, I'm gonna make you a flying machine, and I'm gonna, like, fix your hidden blade and put a gun in it and shit. And it's so dumb. Because he's just like, Leonardo da Vinci, one of the greatest, like, minds in human history, and we're gonna put him in this fucking video game and, like, make him this really weird, dumb character. And they don't do that with really anyone in Assassin's Creed 3, Like, I was really hoping there was going to be a lot more, like, crazy Benjamin Franklin or something, And they don't, you run into Samuel Adams quite a bit. You run into George Washington quite a bit. There's a little bit of Benjamin Franklin at the beginning. Other than that, like, none of the other, like, really major, like, founding father figures appear. There's no, like, Thomas Jefferson. There's no James Madison. And so that's, like, there's a little bit of Paul Revere, and he just sort of disappears because he gets captured in real life. And so they're just like, hey, he got captured. I know he was a character for, like, the first 5 hours of the game, but in real life, he got captured, so we can't use him anymore. And so they make really mature use of the revolutionary setting, which is a good thing and a bad thing. But the number one thing there are 2 things I'm most impressed at with Assassin's Creed 3. First of all, the naval combat is fucking amazing. It is by far the best part of the game. It is by far the best thing the Assassin's Creed franchise has ever done, by a long shot. And that makes me super excited for Assassin's Creed 4, because Assassin's Creed 4 is expanding the naval-style combat into, like, that being almost like the game. Because, obviously there'll still be land-based stuff, but you have, like, open-world exploratory aspect to the naval combat, which sounds awesome. Because in Assassin's Creed 3, it's just, like, sort of, you go to the harbor, you talk to Mr. Faulkner, your first mate, great first mate name, and you pick, like, a selection. There's, like, 15 or so naval missions that you get to pick from. And they're all pretty simple, like, we ambush these ships. We get ambushed by these ships. We go into the storm. And it really feels like it's almost a proof of concept for what they're doing in Assassin's Creed 4. And Assassin's Creed 3, even though it's really light and sort of, like, off to the side, like, you don't really need to do it at all, other than for a few story missions, it is really awesome. It is an experience that no other video game I've played even really tries to replicate in any way. And so that aspect of the game is damn near perfect as far as, like, the scope of what it's trying to accomplish. And that's awesome. Like I said, way better than anything the Assassin's Creed franchise has ever done. Because everything the Assassin's Creed franchise has done, they've done kind of well, but with, like, huge flaws there. And I don't really feel that with the naval combat. The other part of the game I am most impressed by, and this is not to say, again, that it is in any way actually good, but the story actually tries to be a fucking story. Because for those who just go back to the history of Assassin's Creed, the Assassin's Creed narrative is, they fuck this up so bad, where it's the vast majority of the games are actually set in whatever historical setting it is, but sort of the framework of how you get to that historical setting, where in that setting you're playing as an assassin fighting against the Templars, and that's sort of like this ancient rivalry that has spanned all of human history, is the assassins who favor freedom fighting the Templars who favor order. But that's all framed within, you are playing as Desmond Miles, aka Nolan North, in modern day, and you're getting inside a machine called the Animus that allows you to relive the memories of your ancestors through DNA bullshit. And so you're doing that because there's an ancient science fiction civilization that came before us, our progenitors, the Forerunners, the Protheans, one might call them, all the fucking progenitor races that have ever been in science fiction. That's here too, and you're trying to piece together this mystery of there are these ancient artifacts called the Pieces of Eden that allow you to control people's minds, and it's all this grand, and they're all named after Roman gods, and so, except for Roman gods are actually named after them, which doesn't make any sense, because the Roman gods are named after Greek gods, so that doesn't make any fucking sense. They should be named all after Greek gods. But it's all this grand conspiracy, grand plan to stop a massive solar, not like solar flare, but like a solar flare, like a massive solar ejection on the planet that would just kill everybody. And that's sort of what it's all leading up to. By I say what it's all leading up to, I mean the end, just the very last 3 minutes of every single Assassin's Creed game builds that plot, and that's it. You could literally just watch the last cutscene of each Assassin's Creed game and get as much of that story as is presented, because that's it. That's all it ever moves forward. The end of every Assassin's Creed game, you walk into a room, a crazy alien hologram pops up, you go, what the fuck? The stuff this hologram is saying is crazy! And then you kill off the only other good character in the whole franchise, and then you go on to the next game. It's just the most awful storytelling, because they make no effort at all to try to combine anything about the meta-narrative to the actual narrative of the game, which is Ezio fighting the fucking Pope, that's what's actually going on. That's what you're invested in. That's what they put the most time into, that story. But that story is rendered meaningless because it's couched within this meta-narrative, this apocalyptic meta-narrative that they just don't decide to progress at all with characters. They don't decide to characterize at all because they don't spend any time on it. And they don't have any sort of thematic connection or anything, It is the worst storytelling I've ever seen in a product that has this much effort put into it. So with Assassin's Creed 3, the ending is fucking terrible. The ending is so bad. The way they end the Nolan North storyline, where we know the Assassin's Creed 4 is not Nolan North's Desmond Miles, because they very concretely end. Well, they leave sequel hooks, but they sort of end his story that started Assassin's Creed 1 to Assassin's Creed 3. But that story ends so poorly. It is so shitty. It's unbelievable. Where it's just it's like every other game where it's just oh, here's all this stuff we're going to just tell you. We're just going to exposit at you for 5 minutes with all this crazy bullshit, and this is going to cut to credits, and that's it. We're not going to give you any time to sort of sit with it, to think about it, to have the characters think about any of this stuff that's going on, because the characters never get the opportunity to react to the crazy shit that happens, because it happens at the end of the game, and then the next game picks up a couple of days later. So it's oh, all the important shit, we don't know how the characters deal with it at all. And so that's that aspect of the story. The ending is so fucking bad. But they actually, in terms of merging thematic elements of the two narratives, they tried. There is a father-son thing going on where Connor is fighting with his Templar father Hatham, but then he also has this other father figure, Achilles, and he's sort of drawn between those two, and then Nolan North's Desmond Miles is reunited with his father at the end of Revelation, and sort of dealing with his rocky relationship with his assassin father that sort of indoctrinated him into the assassin order when he was just a kid. So it's there are themes. There are consistent themes between the two parallel storylines, which is more than any other Assassin's Creed game ever even attempted to do. So they have...
So A+, right?
They have taken a step to narrative competence, which is more than I can say for any of the other Assassin's Creed stories. So, holy shit, I was so amazed where I was oh my god, there is something about this story that you actually have to kind of pick apart for like a second. You know, if you can't just play the game and be like, oh, that was that. You know, you have to see this like, oh yeah, there's an interesting parallel going on between Connor's relationship with Haytham and Desmond's relationship with his father. Like, they're putting that in the game. Holy shit! Like, they never tried to do that before, and it all kind of like it never doesn't, like I said, resolve satisfactorily. Although I think the Connor storyline is really well done. I think the Connor storyline is the best story stuff they've ever done. If you just segregate it, which is hard to do because, again, it's couched in a narrative that makes that part of the story completely fucking pointless because the stakes you're dealing with now are so huge that why would you give a shit about his personal struggles with, like, his village getting Conan the Barbarian and shit? Like, who cares? We're dealing with the end of the world. But if you can put that away, the Connor storyline's actually kind of okay. So that's Assassin's Creed 3. Like, I am happy with it. I think it is by far the best game in the franchise since Assassin's Creed 2. I think it is probably kind of on par with Assassin's Creed 2 because Assassin's Creed 3, like, its major problems are the scope. Like, the side missions feel really disjointed. There are all these, like, systems that don't mesh. Like, you can hunt and stuff like that, but there's no real reason to. You know, money is kind of pointless because you can use money to upgrade your ship, which is the only thing that's really worthwhile. But even then, like, you can beat all the naval missions with the normal ship without even really trying. The naval missions aren't hard. So it's like, that aspect of the game is not as well crafted as Assassin's Creed 2, but the combat, the movement, and the story aspect in Assassin's Creed 3 is better than 2. So I think people gave Assassin's Creed 3 a real bad rap. So I am back on board the Assassin's Creed franchise.
And you're excited for 4.
I think 4 is going to be the best one, like, by far. Just, like, after I played 3, I got really excited about 4, which I was not expecting, and so I went online and watched a lot of, like, trailers and demos and stuff that I had not looked at before, because I just didn't give a shit. And then I, like, saw some of the stuff they're doing with, like, the free roaming of the boats and the Caribbean setting, and just the fact that, again, with, like, it seems like they're doing more interesting stuff with the storyline, because with the pirates being assassins is fucking perfect, because that is, you know, the Assassin's Creed itself is nothing is true, everything is permitted. Like, that is what the creed is. So it's basically just nihilism, but they don't treat it like that. But that is the pirate. It should just be fucking called Pirate's Creed, because the Pirate's Creed is nothing is true, everything is permitted. So Assassin's Creed 4 seems awesome.
All right, so do you think it'll help that they're going to be working on kind of narratively a clean slate with 4?
I hope so. Like, there's some really, like the sequel hook they leave at the end of Assassin's Creed 3 is super dumb. And I like the whole First Civilization story has always been terrible, but hopefully that stuff can kind of be in the background. Because there are other aspects of the story they deal with like how... Because all these characters that you're playing as are the ancestors of Desmond Miles for specific reasons, because he's got some First Civilization build. They don't even explain why. Like, he has this eagle vision thing. They don't even explain in Assassin's Creed 3 where that comes from. But like all the characters you play as are his ancestors, and that is consistent with Assassin's Creed 4, where you play as the father of the character in Assassin's Creed 3. And okay. So They do some interesting stuff with, like, how you, like, the people would be able to have access to those memories without necessarily having Desmond Miles be the main character. And so that stuff seems cool. Like, okay. It seems like it'll probably be a good jumping on point. It seems like, narratively, they have been making the correct steps. Well, they made a step with Assassin's Creed 3.
They introduced themes.
Yeah. And I think in Assassin's Creed 4, it looks like if they are conscious of what they have set up for themselves in terms of the Assassin's Creed itself and the pirate lifestyle, I think that could be really interesting. And dealing with and I think the pirate setting, like, sort of like really early 18th century in the Caribbean, that's really cool. So,
okay, 2 things.
Yes.
First, when are we going to get the Templars Creed spinoff?
I don't know. I hope we do. I don't even know what the Templars... Like, the Templars are just like... We like order. Like, we're just kind of the bad guys. Like, it's a thing. We just like fighting, killing people. I don't know. This is the Templars... What the Templars are trying to achieve has never really made sense to me. But, sure. They must have some kind of creed.
Yeah. Alright, second thing. As long as we're on the topic of pirates, did you hear they named Pirates of the Caribbean 5?
Yes, but I remember it was kind of dumb.
Yeah, it's Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales.
That's right.
So it's the longest, clunkiest...
Which sounds like Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. That sounds like the comic book spin-off of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, which... That reminds me, one thing I just think is kind of funny in Assassin's Creed 3, this will be the last thing I say about it, there's been a trend I've seen in some other games, like Mass Effect 3 does this too, where they bring in a character that I haven't read the series, but I know he's a character from like this comic book spin-off of Assassin's Creed, where he like his ancestor's some like Russian dude, and they bring him into Assassin's Creed 3 with like no explanation, and his character's just there, and you kill him because he's a bad guy, and it's not a plot point. It's so dumb. Like the way that you kill him off is so given no drama whatsoever. You just kind of kill him, but it's just like, yeah, we're just going to throw this character from, like, obviously from the expanded universe and just plop him in here for, like, 3 scenes. Not, like try to explain it in, like, this really clunky exposition that just tells you what happened in the comic book story, and then you kill him. It's just, like, I feel really bad for fans of that comic book franchise who get to, or that comic book miniseries, assuming there are fans of it. I don't know how good it is. That just, like, the main character of it just, like, really unceremoniously gets killed off in this game with, like, just, like... Yeah, no, we're just going to pop him in here and stab. That's it. So, yeah.
It's fan service at its best.
Exactly. Let's fucking keep the expanded universe, and keep the main storyline, you know? Like, Halo 4 had a problem with that, too, I think, with, like, just throwing the didact in there without a lot of explanation.
Without any... I just actually was replaying Halo 4 with my brother on co-op. We were doing a Legendary run. And I was looking for it because I thought maybe did I miss something the first time through. I wanted to find the moment where Cortana and Chief realized who this was, and they don't. They just, the guy comes out, and the next scene Cortana's like follow the didact. Yeah. It's not even it's the didact. It's let's find the didact. So there's no moment where
it's like, how do you people know? Like I remember, because the only way you're supposed to be able to assume those characters know that is you assume those characters read and understood the Halo 3 terminals, because that's where the didact character originally comes from, which even that's kind of generous. Like, that's not something you should assume that all the characters, like, all the players found this hidden collectible that tells, like, this really tiny side story in Halo 3, and that, like, Cortana and Master Chief, like, literally read those terminals, understood them, and are able to then visually recognize the didact when he pops out of his, like, egg.
That's, yeah. So while we're on the topic of video games, the stuff I want to talk about is some movie stuff.
Okay.
But, you know, you mentioned Mass Effect really quickly, and it reminded me, I kind of have a story to tell about Mass Effect.
Okay.
Which is the story of how Jonathan turned from the ways of evil and started playing as a Paragon.
Yeah, you're following my path, only, like, 10 years later.
Yes. So, as you know, I played Mass Effect 1 and 2 earlier this year, and 2's my second favorite game of all time, and, well, third now because I finished Persona 3, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But, in any case... Mass Effect 1 and 2, I was playing them, I was going to play 3, and I got sidetracked by some other games, including Persona 4, and then I was maybe going to go back and play 3 again, but I felt I'd lost some of my momentum, and then at the same time, my brother left for college and took most of my Xbox games, including the Mass Effect trilogy. So I was like, fuck it, I've got money, I'm going to go, you know, or... I'm not saying I'm rich or anything. I was just
you have just enough disposable income
to pay for video games.
Yeah, to buy the Mass Effect trilogy.
Yeah, that's all I mean. Is that so I went over and picked it up for the PS3 because I knew they'd fix some issues with 1 and stuff, and then you didn't have to do disc changing on 2 and 3 and whatnot. So I got that version, and I've been playing through 1 and 2, and I played through 1 as a renegade because that's just my kind of default. As I've said before,
you're just a horrible person. Like, you don't need. That's all you need to say about it. We heard your stories about Red Dead Redemption.
Yes.
You know what you did.
Well, I'll say, and as I've said about Mass Effect before, kind of my main thing is I don't consciously choose I'm going to do a renegade run or I'm going to do a Paragon run.
Yeah.
I am this character. I look at the history I've chosen for my Shepard, and I feel like, and listening to like Jennifer Hale's performance and whatnot, it's like, what do I feel like is natural for me as I'm role playing this character in this moment?
And it's just kill any and everyone you run into.
Well,
for no good reason.
I did wind up in Mass Effect 1 doing a lot of renegade things that I actually had not done before, like murdering this guy. There's this case in the Citadel where the Vorcha thinks his friend is trying to kill him.
Yeah.
And so what you can do is you can go kill the friend and get the Vorcha thrown in prison. And I did that and felt really bad about it. And what I did when I characterized it was that Shepard was having a bad day because this council were being total dicks.
Your Shepard is very emotional and just like carried by the moment, it seems, because you had
Yes.
a similar explanation. I don't know if this was your original playthrough or whatever about after you fought Matriarch Benezia.
Yes.
And with the Rachni Queen, and that you were so frustrated with how hard the Benezia boss fight was that you just killed the Rachni Queen because you're just like really pissed off.
Yeah, that Shepherd was pretty temperamental that way. I did not kill the Rachni Queen this time, but I did get to the end of the game and I killed the Council again because I want to kill the Council because they're fucking assholes. But here's the thing.
You're just a horrible person.
Let me explain. This was my revelation. That I
Assassin's
played through...
Creed Revelation.
Yes, I played through Mass Effect 1, fun game, get to the end with the Council, and I do the choice, and as soon as I made it, I felt bad. Like, literally, like, it's like in The Grinch, where his heart grows 3 sizes that day.
Yeah, and
it's
like the little box breaks.
Yeah. It's like suddenly I felt like, wait a second, that wasn't the best thing I could have done.
Yeah,
and I
just
wait. Let me
thrown the galaxy into turmoil.
But that's the thing, is that I had forgotten how the game ended when you did that for some reason. I forgot that humanity took over.
Yeah.
And all that. So when humanity takes over and you have that scene with Udina where he's just like a fucking like weird serial killer villain.
Yeah, he's like becomes like a goddamn dictator.
Right. And I immediately started choosing Paragon options. Like, no, we have to work with the other races. No, Udina, this is wrong. No, Udina, and I'm protesting, and then the game ends, and I'm like, I did something horrible.
Yeah,
I did something horrible. And then 2 starts, and I started 2 feeling kind of depressed because I did this horrible thing. And then you get, fucking spaced. And spoilers from Mass Effect 2.
It happens the first, 3 minutes of the game.
But it's a great first 3 minutes. But
great
anyway,
opening.
you get fucking killed and brought back to life. And I realized, this is a second chance. And just as you once had your revelation...
Wait! Your shepherd is a born-again Christian!
No, not that!
Your shepherd is a born-again Christian! Like, literally, your shepherd died and came back to life realizing the virtues of Christianity. And
Not Christianity.
Well, space Christianity, let's call it.
Okay. Virtues of Christianity going around, like, killing infidels and shit. I'm not doing that.
But it depends on your version of Christianity. That's not fair.
Okay.
Not every Christian are the 2 guys on campus today carrying huge signs saying, like, accept Jesus as your savior and accosting every single passerby.
Yes.
The most Christian people are nice and reasonable and very compassionate.
Okay. Anyway, but what I realized was that I'm going to call it more like a My Name is Earl situation.
Okay.
That TV show where Earl, like, he's a bad guy, he gets hit by a car, decides he wants to do good to reverse his karma.
No, it's just Yu Yu Hakusho.
That's Yu Yu Hakusho also.
He fights ghosts
right.
with spirit powers.
So it's that kind of thing where I realized, like, Shepard, I had this second chance, I had this second game. I was going to try to do good this time. Not always. My Shepard still is an edge. Whenever one of the Renegade options pops up, I still usually do it because they're fun. But
yeah, I mean, I tended to, because usually it's just like, here's this mercenary, I'm going to push him out a window. I've killed like dozens of these dudes up to this point.
Right.
What do I care if I push him out the window?
But I really haven't done anything unnecessarily bad, and the few chances I have, I felt bad about it afterwards. So I'm realizing the Paragon for me is now becoming more interesting, and I think it's the same kind of revelation you had when you talked before about how you really fell in love with Mass Effect when you decided to strictly go Paragon, and you realized it was like your Shepard was a kind of a sociopath.
Yeah.
And so that was a way to view your Shepard that was interesting and really got you into it. Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing for me now, is that I'm really more into Mass Effect 2 even than before, because it's like having this drive to do Paragon, not necessarily because she's a goody two-shoes, but because I feel like I have to kind of atone for the past.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of fucked up the galaxy with what I did at the end of 1.
Yeah, you really did.
And now it's my job. And I also realized, like, just from playing 2 before, kind of how fucked up, and playing 1 and got to the part where you actually do fight Cerberus in 1. I didn't do that the first time.
Yeah,
I realized how bad Cerberus is, so now I'm doing all the I like how the Paragon options in 2 are being directly rebellious to Cerberus.
Yeah, you get a nice sort of flip where it's like being a Paragon in Mass Effect 2 is the choices that make you kind of a badass, because you're like, anti-authority, you're really punk.
Right. And then it's just, I don't know, it makes everything kind of richer doing it that way, but there's definitely, and I also think, one of the things I really love, I play FemShep, and I think Jennifer Hale's performance is such an interesting dynamic performance, because you can definitely feel that edge to it, even in the Paragon choices, very heavily. Like, it's not, none of, like, these choices don't come necessarily easily or naturally.
Yeah.
So, I like that. It's fun, though. So, that's the story of how I, for the first time ever, started playing a game straight.
But it's like, but I was just thinking about that choice at the end of Mass Effect 1, because I feel like a lot of people decide to let the Council die because the Council is like the asshole-ish overhead of, like, you know, Jack Bauer or whoever, like, the dude trying to get shit done, and they're like, we've got laws, motherfucker. Like, you can't just go out and kill people and stuff like that. Like, we have a legal process. We can't just assume everything you're telling us is the truth. You need some evidence. Like, you know, they are those characters, and the characters that need to be there narratively, and then in real life definitely need to be there for the goddamn government. You don't just want Jack Bauer doing whatever the fuck he wants to do without any oversight whatsoever, because he's a fucking psychopath. But, like, you know, my analogy for the choice at the end of Mass Effect 1 is like if the U.S. military was in a situation where every single delegate to the United Nations was at risk, and you only saved the U.S. one, and all the other ones died, and so then the United States just takes over the United Nations. It's just like, come on, like, fucking save the goddamn, like, you know, some of the most important political people in the entire, in this case, galaxy. Just, you can sacrifice a couple of soldiers to save them. They're soldiers. That's what that's what their fucking job is. That's what they signed up to do, is to do some goddamn good. Let's save the galaxy, you know?
Yeah.
You didn't. You really didn't.
And I regret the error of my ways, because I think it got even worse with stupid Udina. And,
yeah.
Well, okay, I picked Anderson as the counselor, obviously.
Yeah, but you know, Anderson doesn't want to be a counselor. He's a military man. You know?
Right.
So Udina eventually, obviously, is going to step up. He's the politician.
Yep. So we'll check back in when I get through my overall arc. I'm feeling right now is that there's going to be kind of a mix of Paragon and Renegade in 2, and then maybe by 3 I'll have completely turned the corner.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not giving the collector base over to Cerberus this time, though. Definitely
You did that too? Jesus, you're awful. Man.
The ends justify the means, Sean.
Sure.
All right. Let's get to what I was actually going to talk about here.
Right.
Which is that, yeah, so if you've been listening to me on this podcast or following me on Twitter,
which I really haven't,
or reading
I've not been listening to like we're like on episode like 52 something, like
62.
We're on episode 62 now. 61 now.
Well, one of them.
I maybe have listened to a total of like one podcast worth of you talking so far. So
okay, thanks. Well, if you've listened to me more than Sean has, or read me on Twitter or my reviews and stuff, you've known 2013 in my eyes has been a pretty lackluster year for movies.
Oh, it has. Huh.
There's been some high points. I liked some of the big blockbusters this year. I've liked some smaller movies that have come out. Last week we talked about Woody Allen's new film Blue Jasmine, which is spectacular. You should go see it if you haven't, or if it's in your area. I don't think it's out wide yet. But this was a really cool weekend because I got to see 3 really awesome movies. Actually, 5 really awesome movies, but like in 3 sittings. Okay. And the first one I want to talk about is, if you know me, you know some of my favorite movies ever are Edgar Wright's Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. The first 2 parts of his 3 Flavors Cornetto trilogy, which completed this weekend with the release of The World's End. And the Alamo Drafthouse in Littleton had a screening Thursday night of all 3 movies. It was a big trilogy screening. And that was the most fun, most enjoyable, most rewarding, and fulfilling experience I've had in a theater all year. In part because Shaun of the Dead, which to me is just an absolute masterpiece. I love that movie.
It's a really good movie.
It's better than anything that's come out this year by a wide margin. That is just a tremendous film. Hot Fuzz it's weird. Hot Fuzz is a movie I love so much. It's just one of the movies I can like quote the most, watch the most. I love that movie, and it's my least favorite of those 3 because I think it doesn't quite have the substance of Shaun of the Dead. It's a funnier movie, definitely.
Fair. Yeah,
but Shaun of the Dead is a much more. I mean, boy, when Shaun of the Dead gets dramatic, it hurts, and it's really good. And even when it does get dramatic, it can also turn on a dime and do something just hilarious. Mm-hmm. And Hot Fuzz definitely has a really good thematic core to it and great characters and stuff, but it's primarily parody, and it's top-notch A-plus parody.
It's a really funny movie.
Yeah, it's very funny. It was so fun to watch with the crowd, because especially the great, action climax, there was so much just applause in the theater and stuff. And then you could tell the people who had not seen Hot Fuzz before and were not prepared for what happens to Timothy Dalton, where he gets impaled on the... Yeah. Some people were shocked by that. And then The World's End, to me, it's not as good as Shaun of the Dead, because I think it would be hard to replicate that. But The World's End is probably my second favorite, and I think it's closer in tone to Shaun of the Dead, because it's very funny. It's also funnier than Shaun of the Dead, because as we said before, Shaun of the Dead... I don't even think calling that movie a parody is right. It's just a zombie movie, and it's got humor in it, and zombies have often been used for satire. It's not a new thing. But I mean, it's primarily a comedic but also dramatic exploration of maturity and these various themes. And World's End is sort of similar to that, but funnier, because it's got a really great core ensemble. In addition to Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, it's Eddie Marsan, Paddy Considine, and Martin Freeman. And those five together are just tremendous. But The World's End it's got a really clever premise about these friends. Well, this Simon Pegg plays, his character here is named Gary King, and he's a total asshole. Like, he's playing a very kind of dark character. And Gary King is someone who has never amounted to anything in his life. He's just hit 40, and he keeps the only night of his life he considers like the height of his life was this pub crawl he tried to do with his 4 best friends back in college, to go to these 12 pubs in his town and do a pint at each. And they only made it to pub 9, but it was still the best night of his life. And now he wants to recreate it with those friends, all of whom have moved on with their lives. And when they try to do it, there happens to be something sci-fi that comes into the fold. And I won't spoil that, because it really, the sort of non-real world elements of it come in much later into the film than they do in Hot Fuzz or Shaun of the Dead. Okay. And it's really interesting. I mean, and like Shaun of the Dead, I would not call this a parody of sci-fi. I think it's just a straight-up sci-fi movie, in that it uses sci-fi concepts to explore really interesting ideas about humanity. And The World's End it's great. It's really heartfelt, really funny, just terrifically paced, moves along really well. It's just a great movie, so rich, so rewarding. And the ending is very... The word I kept coming around to with the ending is that it's challenging. I know a lot of people have not liked the last 10 minutes of the movie. It's been kind of controversial among fans. Nothing that... I haven't heard anyone say it ruined it for them, just that they didn't like it as much. And to me, I definitely in the moment did not like it as much, and yet I spent more time thinking about this movie than either of the other two, in part because it was new, but also in part because those last 10 minutes, there's some really big ideas going on here. They're very complex, they're very dark, and they're very adult, and they're really interesting to ponder. And I think, to me, this is the best movie that has come out this year that I've seen, is The World's End. And I think in part it's just, I would rather have another movie with these guys, the Cornetto Trilogy team, than any of the other sequels that have come out this year, because I love those other two movies so much.
Yeah, and you call it, like, The World's End is not a sequel. Like, no. It's another movie made by the same creative team.
Right, and I just love that you can take that creative team and they can do these... I mean, that's one of the things that shocked me so much about these, is that, while the style is the same for each, similar in that, Edgar Wright shoots them in a similar way and does some of the quick zoom pan stuff. It's amazing how, like, Simon Pegg in particular, his 3 characters feel so distinct that you jump from Shaun of the Dead right into Hot Fuzz and you immediately forget about Shaun. You're just focusing on Nicholas Angel. And it's the same when you jump from that to Gary King. Though he is a phenomenal actor, and I think it's as good as Simon Pegg is in, like, the Mission Impossible movies and in the Star Trek movies. Hollywood has barely used his talent, because he is a great actor. And I think The World's End is some of his best work ever. It's tremendous. But yeah. But anyway, so The World's End, I think, to me, feels like more of an event than some of the other big sequels. And again, it's not a sequel, but you know what I mean. It was more of an event for me. I was more excited for this than really anything else this summer. And it really delivered, and it feels very special to me. It feels like one of those movies that will just be one of my favorites. Like, part of that, it goes with those other two in the Cornetto trilogy, and kind of, as movies that I really hold dear. So that was fun. Watching them all in a row was fun. Alamo Drafthouse had, fun English flavored food and stuff for the event. So that was cool.
So just bad food?
I didn't eat that some of the stuff they had. They had, like, a special English grilled cheese that was probably...
chips?
They did. I did not have that. That was probably not all that good. But I had their Cornetto Trilogy Sunday. That was decent.
Okay.
I'll tell you, though, through 6 hours of movies at the Alamo Drafthouse, you spend a lot of money on food.
I can imagine, yeah.
Yes. So, guy next to me spent $50 on, like, drinks alone. So anyway, yeah, so those are great movies. Go see The World's End if you haven't. It is so fantastic. Really great movie, and obviously see the other two if you haven't. But then I was able to follow that up by catching up on some indie movie stuff that I'd kind of missed. First movie I saw after that was The Act of Killing, which is playing now in Denver at the Denver Film Center and at the Alamo Drafthouse. It's distributed here by Drafthouse Films in America. And The Act of Killing is this documentary that premiered at Toronto, I believe, last year. It premiered on the like film festival circuit last year. It's a documentary about several people who were involved in the mass executions of so-called communists in 1965 to 1966 in Indonesia. There was this mass purge of people they considered communists, not necessarily that they were communists. It was like the American Red Scare, but with murder. And so there were over 500,000 people.
The Blood Red Scare, one might call it.
Yes, there were 500,000 people exterminated, and the act of killing is a fascinating and just disturbing as fuck documentary in which basically there's this the main person interviewed Anwar Congo and several other people who were executors in that military regime. The main guy, Anwar, killed over 1,000 people personally, and he is the main subject of the documentary, and how the documentarian, Joseph Oppenheimer, got them to speak and interact with this documentary is he gave them the opportunity to dramatize on film their experiences and memories whatever way they saw fit. And so the movie is basically like a behind the scenes of them filming their own experiences and memories murdering mass amounts of people, and they have like sound stages and stuff, and they do it through the different genres that inspired them at the time. They explain, like film noir, gangster movies, and even musicals at one point. There's the most disturbing thing I've seen in a movie all year is this big musical number set to Born Free, depicting the victims of the killing forgiving the killers. It is unbelievably disturbing and provocative, and it's a phenomenal documentary. It's been acclaimed even by people who are, all-time great documentarians like Werner Herzog and Errol Morris as one of the great documentaries ever made, and that is probably true. It is astounding. The general arc, I mean, the version I saw, with the screening I saw, had a video introduction by the director, Joseph Oppenheimer, and he said the movie was meant to be an exploration into there are, in fictional stories we have people who are good and people who are evil. In real life, there aren't people who are good and people who are evil. There are people, and people sometimes do good or do evil. And he said, he says, this film I was inspired to make because I had not seen many movies about the process of what it takes to do evil and what that does to the human soul. And so that is what the movie is about, and it is really fascinating. If you have the stomach to see it, and I can understand, if you want a good time at the movies, don't go see this. Go see The World's End or something. But active killing is very good. So, and then last movie I saw, totally on the other side tonally, this was tonal whiplash, was In a World, which is a indie comedy written by, directed by, and starring this actress Lake Bell. And it is about the world of movie trailer voiceover narration. It's inspired by, now I forget his name, but the guy who was the, prime movie voiceover trailer narration guy who coined the In a World thing. And so it's about, Lake Bell plays this character. She's the daughter of another famous movie voiceover trailer guy, and she wants to get into the business, and her father doesn't want her to, and it's sort of like a standard sort of romantic comedy kind of story, but filtered through this very creative world that we have not seen on film before necessarily, and with some other things. It's sort of this really sort of subtle, nice female empowerment story. It's very low-key, very small scale, and that's what I wound up liking about it a lot. I don't know what cities it's playing in. I know it got to Denver, so it's probably in a lot of places. If you can see it, maybe not see it in theaters if you don't want to, but when it comes out on video on demand or DVD and stuff, definitely check it out. It's a fun movie, and it was very just kind of sweet in its low-key, heartwarming way. It was definitely, the whole Cornetto trilogy screening and then the act of killing kind of sapped me emotionally, and then going in and watching this was just a nice little refresher. So
nice.
So yeah, so those were my movie experiences over the weekend, and I've got a ton more on my list just from small stuff that all arrived at the same time in Denver that I've got to get around to at some point or another. So, yeah. So 2013, I now have at least 2 viable candidates for my top 10.
Well, okay.
We might be able to push it out to a top 5. I don't know.
If you just bring since you saw Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz this year, you watched them again, I think they count, right?
Yeah.
They're movies you saw this year. There's no rule that had to be made this year. That this had to be the first time you saw it was this year.
I mean, I also saw King Kong a couple of weeks ago at the Draft House.
There you go. Best movie of the year.
Number 1. King
Best
Kong.
movie of every single year, other than the actual best movie of every single year is The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, since 1956. But
yeah. But King Kong, Fay Wray for Best Actress.
Yeah.
All of that.
King Kong for Best Actor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so that's kind of my stuff. We're 50 minutes in. We should probably get to business. Let's talk a little more movie news.
Oh, yes.
In a perfect world, Sean, we would spend 3 to 4 minutes on this.
Yeah.
Which is
I don't know how much I have to say about this, but
I have some stuff to say about it.
I have a thing to say, but
yes. So this weekend, or Thursday night, it was actually kind of funny because I was at the Cornetto trilogy screening when this broke, and when I got home, Twitter and the internet were on fire. and it was all about Warner Brothers announced Ben Affleck had been cast as Batman.
Batman.
My initial thoughts: he's a good actor. I'll get excited. I'll get interested in that in 2 years fucking time when this is relevant.
Yeah.
What was your reaction?
I don't get. Yeah.
In 2 years.
Yeah, like I will care when I see what he's going to do with the performance. Like I fucking hate people who care about casting in movies when it's just like, we're years out. We have no idea what this actor is going to bring to this performance. All we know is that a certain actor has been cast in a role. You don't have anything to judge them on. They're like, if they're an actor you don't like if you think they are just bad at acting, you have never seen them give a good performance, then I could see maybe, yeah, sure. But that's not the case here. And it's just like, he's a fucking actor. Actor's job is to play a character, is to make believe effectively. And so you don't know what they're going to do. You don't know what they're going to bring to the character, how they're going to approach it. You have no fucking clue if they're going to do something crazy awesome or something terrible. We just don't know. We have no basis on that. So people who care about these casting choices without knowing what the actor is going to do with the part, you don't have the most important piece of information with which to judge whether or not they should have been cast. You are not the fucking director. You don't know what the audition was. You don't know anything about it. All you know is a fucking name and a role, and that's it. You know nothing else. So, shut the fuck up, dude, you fucking idiots. That's all I have to say about it, because it's so dumb. You have no information with which to make this decision that Ben Affleck should or should not be Batman. You shouldn't care until you fucking see it. If it comes out and he's a terrible Batman, which he very well might be, then you can be like, well, this was a terrible decision made by whoever, like Zack Snyder and everyone else who cast him. But only until then can you make that choice.
Couldn't have said it better myself, and in fact I said something very similar. I wrote an opinion piece the day after this broke on We Got This Covered because I was just so fucking fed up with my Twitter feed and on all the forums and all the websites, like every entertainment site I read, all of them.
Fans made a fucking petition to have him not be Batman.
Two different on change.org, and stupid fucking change.org, which has lost all credibility, was sending that around via email.
Jeez, I didn't get the email on that one.
Yeah. It was so dumb. And honestly, one of the things I said in my piece was, "Dear Internet, please shut up." It was originally "shut the fuck up." My editor took that out. It was,
fair enough.
"Please shut up about Ben Affleck and Batman for the next 2 years. Please shut up." And one of my points was, I don't care whether you... I am equally annoyed by the people who are supporting it, by the people who aren't, because you had all this initial backlash, like the petitions and the Twitter hashtags and all that of people saying this is the worst decision ever. Yeah.
I thought Mass Effect 3, people just replayed Mass Effect 3 all of a sudden, and it's like, oh, we're doing the ending again.
Right.
Fantastic.
And then, of course, there was the other side where all these sites, like I saw Entertainment Weekly did it, and HitFix did it, and for showing it, everyone was doing it. Ain't It Cool News was doing it. Everybody was publishing the opinion pieces like why Ben Affleck will be a great Batman. And they are equally uninformed opinions.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. Because
exactly.
I happen to think Ben Affleck is a very good actor because I've seen him do very, very good work. And so what I said in my piece was, we know one thing, which is that a good actor has been cast as Batman.
Yeah.
That does not mean a good actor for the part has been cast as Batman. We don't know. We haven't seen him do it. And I went through a whole list of there are 18, there are many, many different ways they could take Batman. We just don't know. There are all sorts of interpretations. His skill set seems to fit for some. It seems like it wouldn't fit for others, but, we just don't know. And honestly, I was even annoyed by the people saying, well, this was the reaction to Michael Keaton when he was cast too.
Or Heath Ledger when he was cast as a Joker. It's like, that's not the fucking point.
Yeah.
This doesn't matter. That doesn't mean, because they say that, expecting that then means Ben Affleck is going to be a great Batman or something. It's just that means nothing. All that means is that you should shut the fuck up. That's all that means. That's all it means, is everyone should shut the fuck up.
Right. And I realized... Really, it was the circumstances under which I heard this news that got me so frustrated, which is that I had just spent 6 hours watching 3 of my favorite movies of all time. Such a great night. For the first time in a long time as a movie fan, I just got to sit down. I had not been spoiled on The World's End. I had never seen a trailer. I had never seen a TV spot. Never read a review. I'd heard the reaction was positive because people on Twitter were, had seen it and were just saying in 140 characters, I loved the movie. Yeah. But I knew nothing about it.
140 characters, by the way.
Right.
I love the movie.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Right. But anyway,
a little off there.
yeah. But anyway, I had spent this time I didn't have to worry about stupid casting news or worrying about anything else. It was just I got to watch, enjoy the movies, think about them, digest them, and that's what I do this for. I like to watch great movies and write about them and talk about them, and that's everything else is a distraction.
Yeah.
Box office news, release news, casting news, all of it is a distraction. And the problem with it is all of it is about looking at the future rather than living in the fucking moment and appreciating what we have. Not just the movies that are coming out now, but the movies that have existed for 100 years. Like, instead of talking about Ben Affleck as Batman, we could all go watch Seven Samurai and talk about that or something, And that's what's so annoying about this, and when I got home and I saw that news and I saw Twitter was just pages and pages and pages of people bitching about this, I was kind of a breaking point for me, where it's like I realized how much I don't care about this stuff because I can't invest in something that's 2 years off. I just can't, because literally, it would be different if it's like the Avengers sequel, because I know what Avengers 1 was like. Yeah. And if they were to say we've added Spider-Man into Avengers 2, that would be something worth kind of getting interested in because that's a known quantity.
Or like finding out, Batman is going to be in the next Superman movie. That's something that's interesting. Like, just knowing that. I don't care who the Batman is, but Batman being in a Superman movie, okay.
Right. But even then, we know so little about this movie. We don't even know they've said some stuff about they're doing something Frank Miller-esque, but, I mean, we could get into this. I don't think they're actually going to do that because they wouldn't really be allowed to do something like that because that's not commercial. Well, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But I think, they can filter some Frank Miller ideas through it, but it's not.
Yeah, I think they're not going to do the Dark Knight Returns like they can't do it exactly because to do that story, Superman has to have been around for longer than Batman. But, it sounds like they're going to take like a general, Batman it almost sounds like it's going to be, in a way, a sequel to The Dark Knight Rises, spiritually, where it's going to be Batman's been retired for a while, then all this Superman shit went down, and now he's back. Which I hate, because that's the wrong order. Superman is the first superhero, both in terms of the continuity that matters, and, the actual real-life Superman is the first superhero. So I don't like the idea of Batman actually having, been there first somehow, but...
Yeah, but anyway, we just know so little about it. We know nothing about how Ben Affleck's going to play this. So it's just everybody calm down, quit talking about this movie that won't come out for 2 fucking years, if they get it, started in time. Yeah. Just quit talking about all that and focus on something that matters in the moment. And it was so weird to me because it really was this stark contrast of before that news broke, everyone on Twitter was talking about The World's End because it was this movie that's important to a lot of people, and so people were on Twitter discussing this movie that exists and matters, and then it was this harsh stop where everybody went and started talking about this movie that, by definition, does not matter because it does not fucking exist. It literally doesn't exist. And so at that point, it's I just don't care. And that was sort of the point of my article, and then I got some of the harshest comments I've ever gotten in my life from people explaining... God, there's so many idiots. I know we deleted a lot of these comments, but I'm going to make fun of them anyway. We had people who were like, but you don't understand, this is Batman, and he's so important to me, and they've ruined him forever. And how do they have the nerve to do that? And then there were other people
did you not watch Batman and Robin? Batman was ruined! He's tarnished! Yeah. It's all over. It's been over since before you watched New Batman fucking existed. Yeah. It's done. God damn it.
Yep, and then we had... I also love things like people trying to be calm and reason, being like, I kind of get where you're coming from, but I don't see how you could ever support this. I don't like Ben Affleck, and I don't agree with the casting. It's great if you don't agree. You don't get a fucking say in it, dude.
And you don't... on what basis? Yeah. It's not like Ben Affleck is, a 12-year-old girl. Ben Affleck is perfectly fine. There's nothing about Ben Affleck that makes him, impossible to be Batman, for fuck's sake, Right.
Yeah. And hey, if they cast, Chloe Grace Moretz when she was 12 as Batman, I'd watch the shit out of that. Anyway, but, it's were you in the... there were a lot of people talking like they were in the room watching his audition and disagreed with Zack Snyder. And it's God, and, And my general preference is obviously to give the benefit of the doubt in this stuff, because obviously they didn't just call Ben Affleck on a whim and be like, hey, you want to be Batman? Exactly. They probably showed him their ideas, said, hey, what do you think? He probably exchanged some ideas. They talked about it. They looked at what he'd done before. They probably had him audition a little bit. And they're like,
can you do the Christian Bale Batman voice? And he's like, yes, I can. And they're like, sold.
Yeah.
Done. We did it.
So who knows? See, the only thing I want to know is, will he have the beard he has right now when he plays Batman? Will we have a bearded Batman?
Yeah.
Probably not. Hopefully not.
All I want to know if Ben Affleck is going to be playing Batman as if Batman was a 12-year-old girl. That's all that's... Because, I think that speaks to the heart of the character, really, when you get down to it.
Right. But, okay. So that's the Batman stupid thing, blah, blah, blah. The internet ruins everything.
Yeah, it does.
All this needed to be was it's broken that Warner Brothers, Ben Affleck's playing Batman, and everyone could have been like, cool, let's see how he does in two years. And then we'll get angry if we need to get angry.
Yeah. Like, the dumbest thing about it all is that, because, I already said my thing about, I don't think we should, make judgments on casting calls until we see what they're doing. But even then, I don't understand why anyone thinks that Ben Affleck is going to be a bad Batman. Where does all the Ben... I haven't seen a lot of Ben Affleck movies, but it's he's a good actor. I don't hate the fucking... does everyone just hate Ben Affleck? I thought they liked him. Everyone liked Argo, right?
I'll go through it. There was a period in Ben Affleck's career post Good Will Hunting where he won an Oscar for writing that movie, and he had some good performances initially, and then Daredevil happened. Daredevil which he's not bad in. He's fine in Daredevil.
Yeah, Daredevil has a lot of problems. Ben Affleck is not the top of that list.
No, and I think Ben Affleck didn't have a chance to be good in that movie because it's a terrible movie. It's anyway. That could be a whole separate rant. But and
every actor's been in a bad movie.
Right. And he was in a string of bad movies after that. I don't know if he was bad in them. I saw Kevin Smith's terrible Jersey Girl movie. He's good in that. It's just not a good movie. Yeah. And that's what happens. And he went and I think he's a kind of an inspiring case because his career kind of died. And instead of letting his career die, he rehabilitated it by starting and writing and directing his own movies. And if you see movies like The Town or Argo or Hollywoodland or all these other movies he was in the last 5-6 years, he's terrific in those. And, and I kind of was under the same impression. I thought we'd come around and like Ben Affleck.
Yeah, it's again. Why does everyone hate Ben Affleck? I don't get it. It seems fucking cool. I don't know why everyone hates him being Batman.
I assume it's that the people who are bitching about it just have they only watch comic book movies, so they've only seen Daredevil or something. Yeah, but even from that, it just doesn't. On so many levels, it just makes absolutely no sense to me. I don't know. Who is this perfect Batman they hope would have been cast? It just if you cast Ben Affleck and everyone's people are making fucking petitions for him not to be Batman, it just makes me think that whoever they cast, it would be they would make fucking petitions for. Right.
It's crazy.
If they had cast Christian Bale again, we would have had...
I would have petitioned. I don't particularly like his Batman. I think he's a decent Bruce Wayne. I really don't like his version of Batman. So it's I am actually happy that Ben Affleck is playing Batman. I'm happy that it's not something really dumb they got Christian Bale again. I'm happy we're getting a new Batman, honestly.
Oh yeah. No, I think this excites me because it's I'm going to be interested to see what this new Batman is in 2 years. Yeah. But I'm not going to get invested in it until the right time.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know? So, yeah.
Fucking Batman.
What would have been really interesting is if they had cast Henry Cavill as Batman, but confirmed he's still Superman, and instead of being angry, the internet would have just been befuddled.
Yeah, exactly. It's what is it? It's just we don't even have the budget to do put them CGI next to each other in old school effects. We just cut across.
You're right.
And it's just Henry Cavill. It's easy because Batman looks really different than Superman just in the costume. You just never see Bruce Wayne.
Right. So yes, and I think that's an interesting question. Is how much Bruce Wayne will even get in this movie?
Yeah.
So it may and I think it's interesting. Ben Affleck's performance could very well be predominantly behind the cowl and everything. Yeah. So. Yeah, so if you don't like his stupid face, you don't have to look at it.
Apparently people hate Ben Affleck. I didn't realize that.
I didn't. Were the Oscars boycotted or something? And I missed it?
Right. Like it's just like it felt like everyone liked him. Like everyone was like, yeah, no, Argo was a really great movie. Like, hey, Ben Affleck, and then it's just like, Ben Affleck is Batman. I'm gonna fucking kill somebody. Calm down.
So just weird.
Is that enough on Batman?
I think that's enough on Batman.
Okay.
Let's, I somehow closed the window where we had all our Gamescom stuff up, so I'm going to find that again.
Yeah, okay. We can start.
Yeah, vamp for me.
Okay, so Gamescom. This is supposedly the main topic for this podcast. It happened last week. Yeah, just very recently ended. I think their the Sony press conference and the EA press conference are on Tuesday. And it's for those who are not in the know, Gamescom, like, very recently started to become, like, in the last couple of years, has gotten a lot bigger as, like, a video game trade show where all the big players come out and show what all their hot stuff is. I don't mean that in, like, some weird sexual way. I don't know, that came off really weird. But it's in a sort of, like, it's kind of like another, like, smaller E3 that happens in Germany. So it's like another smaller E3, but everyone's really drunk. And so with Gamescom, this year, I was really excited for it because we, like, this fucking new consoles, 7 years in the making, we're finally getting it out there, and Sony, like, announced that they were going to have a, like, live streamed press conference, like their February reveal and, like, their E3 press conference, and so I watched that. EA had one, like, before the Sony one, I watched a bit of, but they didn't, like, there wasn't a whole lot there. It was a whole lot of, like, where EA is making all the EA sports games, and there's some FIFA stuff, and here's a trailer for Battlefield 4, that wasn't interesting. And Microsoft, I believe, was originally slated to live stream a press conference, but then eventually, like, backed out of that because their big news for Gamescom was going to be their whole indies will, within the first year of the Xbox One launching, be able to self-publish on the Xbox One, which previously that had not been the case. But that story got leaked by Game Informer like a month out from Gamescom, so they were like, well, we don't have anything really big to show anymore. So Microsoft did have, like, a private event that, like, there was some stuff that came out of that, and I guess we'll just, like, really quickly talk about what came out. Is that I think the biggest and most interesting thing was that I believe this is only in certain places in Europe, which is interesting because we don't even know, like, the Xbox One is launching, I think, in, like, 13 countries, so it's had a really dialed back launch because of, like, I think probably because of all the policies being reverted as, like, hit the number of units they can produce. But in Europe, when the Xbox One launches in those countries, if you pre-order the Xbox One, you will get a copy of FIFA 14 for free. And then also, and Microsoft has, like, the usual round of, like, we get this exclusive, like, DLC, like, a month earlier for FIFA and, like, Call of Duty. And for FIFA, I think it's, like, some players or something for some, like, historic, like, all-star team mode or something. I don't fucking...
I will say, though, for targeting Europe, that is the smartest decision Microsoft has made with the Xbox One so far.
Yeah, but the dumbest thing about it is that buying the PS4 and a copy of FIFA 14 is still $40 or 40 euros or whatever cheaper than buying pre-ordering an Xbox One and getting a copy of FIFA 14 for free. And
you will almost assuredly be getting the PS4 in Europe sooner than you will be the Xbox One.
Yeah, unless... the PS4 is having a much wider launch, and, like, say, like, Europe is already much more on Sony's side. Like, it's not like a clear, like, it's kind of like, the United States generally is more Xbox, but it's not like the Xbox has, like, the biggest market share. Like, it's not like Nintendo versus Sega. And in Europe, it's Sony, it's sort of like flipped, where Sony has larger market share, but it's not like a wild runaway, like, where the Xbox doesn't sell, like, 5 units in Japan.
Right.
But, yeah, but from just, like, anecdotal stuff on the internet, it seems like that's not swaying a whole lot of people. Because it's like, I'm not the only one to realize you can buy the PS4 and FIFA 14 for still cheaper than you can get an Xbox One and FIFA 14 for free. So it's like, it's a nicer deal, but it's the only thing that impacts is the financial aspect of you wanting to buy an Xbox One, and it doesn't impact it enough to offset the cheaper price of the PS4. So it's ultimately completely pointless for any rational human being. Like, the only thing that would really matter, and, like, for that purchasing decision would be, like, if you're really interested in the temporarily exclusive content or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, so, yeah, like, Microsoft came out and said that, and they said, like, what their, like, Call of Duty exclusive DLC, temporary DLC, or whatever is. And then the other thing is there's going to be a Kinect-only fighting game made by Ubisoft called The Fighter Within, which I saw some demos of, and it does look like the Kinect 2 is a lot better in terms of, like, it doesn't look... there still is clearly some lag, because there's always going to be, but it's not like you can't play it like the Kinect 1 was just by looking at the demos. But it still looks just like, standing there and flailing your arms to control the character on screen. Like, it just reminds me of, like, when the Wii came out. And when the Wii came out, it was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And now it's just like, I don't want to do that. Like, I
want to exercise, I'll get a treadmill.
Yeah, it was just like a lot of like just videos of where they would cut in between like what's going on screen and then cutting to like the people playing it with the Kinect, and it's literally just like them like punching really really fast in front of them, and that's it. It's like that's kind of pointless because in your head when you're thinking about this like motion controlled fighting game, like, dude, just go to just learn karate or something. Like, go to an actual like martial arts dojo or learn boxing and spar with somebody, because what the experience you're trying to get is like having actual physical contact. Like, having it be motion controlled I think is really pointless, because it's like without the feedback of punching a motherfucker in the face, you don't get like the like carnal thrill of being in a fight with someone, like you don't. It's pointless. Like, it's it's like playing light gun games at some point. It's like, yeah, this is kind of cool, but it's not like this is still way worse than just playing a first-person shooter on a controller, because the control I'm given is so really limited. Like, I can't move. I can play House of the Dead for like 5 minutes. I can play Halo forever. It's sort of the same thing. Fighter Within probably will be kind of fun. I'll stick with fucking like Persona 4 Arena or Street Fighter. So
right.
But they're given. I think this is literally the only Kinect game that has been announced for the Xbox One, other than Kinect Sports Super Adventure or whatever the fuck, like their Kinect Sports sequel is for the Xbox One, which has not been shown. I've not seen that anywhere. I just know that title exists. So, hey, they're making a Kinect title.
Yeah.
And then I think the other, this is another kind of interesting thing that Microsoft came out with was, Killer Instinct, the fighting game franchise that apparently people give a shit about. That I had no idea anyone cared about Killer Instinct. That's making a return on the Xbox One as a downloadable title, and they've revealed what their pricing model is going to be for that, because they previously said it was going to be free to play, and it seems like if you download, you can get Killer Instinct for free. You can download it and you get one character, or then you can buy other characters for $5 a pop, which seems kind of expensive. To I think there's 8 characters, and then there's going to be 2 other characters later added on for 10 total. Or that's like you can buy a $20 pack that gives you all the characters, or like a $40 pack that gives you all the characters and then like all the additional DLC. So that's kind of like, looks like to me a terrible way to do free to play. Like, I don't know why you even have this whole, you have this demo that then buys you can buy every character separately. It's like, who wants, who's going to buy a version of Street Fighter and just have like Ryu and then pay $5 to get Chun-Li? You don't. That's fucking point. Especially if you only have like 8 or 10 characters. I don't know who's going to buy like one character. Everyone's just going to buy the $20 pack. But
right,
yeah.
Oh well.
We heard about that. That was like that's literally off the top of my head the only things I can think of. Other than there's like a small like indies, like we're appealing to indies like developers giveaway thing. But that's kind of pointless news.
Yeah. So here's my question though. So that was all Microsoft stuff, right?
Yes.
Here's the question: is Sony took this chance to do another big press conference at Gamescom?
Yes, like hour long,
and they're going to do another big one at the Tokyo Game Show soon.
Yes, because it's fucking Sony,
right?
And studio.
So where is Microsoft going to get another word in?
I don't know, and that's one of the weirdest things is that I was really expecting, after they said that they canceled their live stream thing, I didn't think they were going to do this anymore. But initially, I think everyone assumed that. We knew Sony was going to do something, announce their release plans at Gamescom, because they said as much beforehand. And I think everyone just assumed Microsoft would as well, because there's not anything else, really. Like you said, there's TGS, but Xbox has never had any sort of real foothold in Japan, no. Every effort they've made where, that weird, 2008 or whatever it is, that with the Xbox 360, they just, paid a bunch of Japanese developers a shit ton of money to, make Blue Dragon and The Last Story or whatever, all these JRPGs, and make them for the 360, and no one gave a shit. I've heard the last story's a good game, but other than that, like, no one fucking cared. And so yeah, I don't know when where Microsoft is going to announce, oh, we're coming out like November 5th or something, like whenever the fuck their release date is going to be.
Right.
So yeah, it seems weird that they, especially because, you know, previously Sony had said we're going to be holiday, which is just like, that seems like it was more like, okay, like they're giving themselves a broad window. But Microsoft was like, we're going to launch in November, so it's like you just like gave you this feeling that like Microsoft's probably going to announce first, because it seems like they have a more specifically a date they are trying to more or less aim for, whereas Sony is kind of like more open. Like there were a lot of rumors they're going to be late October before they actually revealed they're going to be mid-November. And yeah, I don't know.
And the thing that baffles me most is it seems like if you're Microsoft, you want to do another conference to try to reunify your message.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they've gotten so split up, and their messaging has been so mixed, and they've reversed so many things. I think they want to make another strong showing and say, this is who we are now, let's start off on the right foot again.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because the last like big singular thing, like where like they came out and really talked about the Xbox One, was at E3, and if you went back and watched the E3 press conference, that it's almost a different console now. Like there's so much about that is different. It's like, yeah, they do really need to come out and like individual small press releases saying, oh, you don't need to have the Kinect plugged in, and it's like, oh, there's no online DRM past like a day one activation thing. It's like, it's useful to have that information, but I don't think that information has any penetration into the larger market.
No, because an E3 conference or a Gamescom conference, those go on CNN, New York Times. Those are big news. And so people who might be more casual might be inclined to buy your console. They'll see that then. And if if the last thing they read was E3, Microsoft doesn't let you play used games and stuff.
Yeah.
If they were watching Jimmy Fallon or something, that's the last word they heard. And they haven't heard anything since from you, but they probably just heard a lot more about Sony this week from Gamescom.
Yeah.
So it's very strange. I don't quite understand their strategy of skipping this one out. I wonder if they're going to call another conference like they had in May.
Yeah, like if they're going to do a just their own thing. Like that's what makes the most sense at this point. But it does seem just kind of like weird to make your own event again. Like it's, you know, you made your own event to announce the console. That makes sense. Making your own event to announce when the console is going to come out, that seems kind of weird and almost egotistical at some point.
Right, and it's, Apple can pull that off because they're Apple.
Yeah.
But and still they don't usually do the thing where they announce the product and then do another conference to announce the release date. But, Apple can do that because they're Apple and they can make headlines. But in gaming, the equivalent of that, of over and over kind of calling your own events, is Nintendo Direct, and that has not worked out particularly well.
Yeah, Nintendo Directs are like really small, tiny little...
Well, because they keep getting smaller because you keep narrowing the audience,
Yeah.
So you would think they would want to piggyback on a bigger conference.
Yeah.
But who knows? We'll talk more about that when we get to like the PS4 release date and whatnot.
Yeah.
But let's talk Sony's conference.
Okay.
We both watched the whole thing. Good conference, bad conference?
I thought the conference was really good. The how they shot it at the live stream was awful.
Oh, I can't. It was terrible. Yeah.
It was. I mean, and there was quite a lot of this at E3 too. And, like, this has become a lot more common with these trade shows where it's like, you have like the big screen that's playing the trailer or the demo or whatever, and it's like it's like, okay, we're just getting the direct feed on the live stream from the screen. So it's like, okay, good. And then all of a sudden it's like you get this like jib shot or whatever, like panning out across the audience. It's like, oh great, like this really awesome trailer is playing for something I'm interested in, and I get to watch people watching the trailer. Fantastic! Oh, there's text on that screen, but your camera is so far away I can't even read the release date for this indie game. Thank you. I was really interested in Rhyme. I don't know when it's coming out. I'm going to have to wait to look it up on the internet.
Yeah, I don't. And this, honestly, it felt like more of those trailers were shot from outside than from just showing the
exactly. It was just so frustrating because it would keep on going back and forth. Like usually, traditionally how it's worked is like when the trailer starts, you're on your jib shot or whatever, and then eventually it fades in, and you just get the whole trailer. If it's a really long demo, then it'll kind of cut back and forth. But we're watching like 2-minute or 1 minute long like teaser trailers that like every fucking 10 seconds it would switch between direct feed to like an outside shot on the camera.
Yeah, and so I agree. I thought it was a really good conference. I enjoyed watching it, but I also did not enjoy watching it because the shooting was so bad. There were even stuff like they did there's an ad playing on our...
Oh god. Oh god.
Oh god. Okay.
Everything is breaking down. Shut down the podcast. It's over.
All right, I'm going to mute my computer.
We should have done that from the start.
Yes. I'm not going to edit this out because, sometimes behind-the-scenes stuff like this can be fun.
Yeah, and maybe we get some money. Who knows?
Yeah, from Revlon.
Yeah.
All right, I had a live blog for all this up so we could recount some of the news, and there was an ad, and yeah.
Anyways, well, you were saying something about how the live stream was shot.
They did literal Kill Bill style zooms in on people.
Exactly. I thought that was what you were going to mention. There was one part early on where the dude who kind of opened the conference came out, and it looked like they cut to a camera too early, and the dude was trying to zoom in and focus, and so you got this really zoomed in close up and kind of shook around and refocused and zoomed back out, and it was what the fuck was that? It was this really bizarre 5-second shot that has made a fantastic GIF on the internet. That I love. I love when that got posted. I just watch that over and over again because this is a professional, fucking event that you're live streaming on the internet. We expect something a little bit better than cutting to a camera so early that the dude hasn't figured out his shot yet.
Yeah,
but that aspect of the conference wasn't fantastic, but fucking whatever. That's not what you're there for. Is to appreciate the cinematography.
Yeah,
and so the actual conference, I think it had a fucking awesome start. I think it may be the best beginning to any of these conferences I've ever seen, where it was just
Shuhei Yoshida.
Yeah, fucking Shuhei Yoshida, I think the president of some branch of Sony, I think it's the games division, sitting on this with his back to the stage and this big kind of lounge armchair that looked like leather and stuff.
It almost looked like he didn't even know he was on stage.
Yeah, exactly. He was just sitting there. It looked like he should there should have been a little table next to him with a glass of whiskey, and he should have had a pipe. It was the classiest chair, sitting there with his legs folded with a fucking DualShock 4 in his hands, and then you see on the screen, he's just it's the startup process for the PS4. We see a bit of the OS. He goes into a live stream for a multiplayer game of Killzone Shadowfall that, I think the Guerrilla Games people, later tweeted that, yes, that was actually going on, that was a real live multiplayer match. And he was watching the live stream, and then he joined the match, and this is, one of the coolest, I'll back up and talk a little bit about what I saw about the OS, but, this is the coolest part of this whole section was he was just watching the live stream, and then on the live stream it was you can join the game. And he was okay, join game. And it just went to black screen. There was a little loading thing in the middle of the screen, and it took 5 or 6 seconds, and there may be some little trickery going on here, but all of a sudden he was dropped into a match, and he was just standing there in Killzone Shadowfall with a fucking submachine gun in his hand and start playing the game. And and there may be a little trickery in how fast that was in terms of we didn't see him pick a class or anything. I don't know if maybe that was something Guerrilla didn't want anyone to see that screen or something. I don't know, but
which would be fair.
Yeah, but they and then I hope they didn't skip this, because the coolest part of it all was that it didn't do the thing that every fucking video game does nowadays when you boot up a game. Is it's oh, okay, this used the Havoc physics engine logo, and this was made by EA logo, and it was developed by People Can Fly logo, and it uses natural motion euphoria fucking logo, and logo. Look at the 20 pieces of middleware this developer used on this fucking game. Thank you, this is fantastic, let me play it. Every fucking video game has a minute worth of logos when you start up. It's just if you can fucking just jump into a multiplayer match and skip all that bullshit, that would be fucking awesome. I don't know if that's the case. Maybe the game was in some sort of resumed save state, they've said, kind of the pause or whatever on a Vita. Maybe it was kind of that, and so maybe we don't get to just skip all the middleware logos, but I hope we do, because that's so fucking annoying nowadays. There's so much of that shit.
I agree, but yeah, that whole OS process was pretty cool. That looks like a really intuitive, fast, fluid OS.
It honestly looks because it still has a lot of the cross-media bar thing, which is the current PS3 OS. It has a lot of that, but it looks like they kind of looked at the better parts of the original NXE, the next Xbox experience, before we got this Metro user interface. It's they kind of looks like they merged the best part of those two styles of user interfaces just by looking at it.
Right, because I'm a bigger fan of the cross-media bar in the current generation, but I also liked a lot of the NXE an awful lot, and I definitely think that you're right. Those seem like the two design philosophies behind it, and melded, they just looked really fluid and easy to use and fun to use, and I just liked that they started the conference that way, which is kind of showing off, like, we made a pretty good OS, we're proud of it.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of little details about, like, I liked, you have like that, like they kind of loaded up, and it almost looked like the sort of like the main screen was set, that it was almost, if you have your iPhone and you press like the home button twice and it brings up like your most recently used apps in like order of like when they were last used, it almost looked like that was the home screen for the PS4, where it had like Killzone Shadowfall and Into the Second Son and like the order and like whatever, like the games they had just sort of like on there. And like that order, and it looked like at the very end of it was like an icon that you would go to like just access your whole library. It's like that seems like that's a really smart, intuitive way to sort of design the user interface, that like you can jump into the games. You have like the single player game you're playing and like the multiplayer game you also are playing like on and off. Like you have all those, like the apps you use the most, like right there at your fingertips, because it's like the things you use the most. But then if you want to like go back into your library, you can just scroll all the way to the right really quickly and grab whatever thing you want to get out of like a list, just like hopefully a well-organized list of all the things you have downloaded on the box. Right.
I really like that. I'm actually going through kind of a philosophical conundrum right now of whether or not I'm going to buy games physically or not on PS4.
I am having that issue as well.
Because I really like on the Vita that I don't have any physical media for it, because it's such a nice, clean interface for getting all your Vita stuff down.
Yeah.
And the one downside, obviously, is that the Vita has limited memory space, but there's a nice solution for that where I put everything on the PS3, back it up there, because I've got a big hard drive in that.
Yeah.
And obviously the PS4 will ship with a big hard drive, and you can make it bigger, so definitely I think if it's integrated really well with the OS, that would be what I would lean to. And I like, and they've also, we've heard before, they've got those things where while you're downloading, you can play the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah. My only worry about not buying boxed games is that day one, I feel like the servers are going to be taxed. And if I want to play like Killzone Shadowfall day one, it might take a while to download.
Yeah, and then I just like having a physical.
I do too. I do.
Like I like having a display of that stuff. So yeah, it's a hard question to have, but I like that we have the question. Like I'm super happy that yes, like I have this internal debate over whether or not I want to have the ease of use advantages of purchasing digital titles, or like the reliability of having physical media. Like thank fucking God we are still in this world where we can have that argument with ourselves.
Best of both worlds. Yeah. We get both of them, and yeah. And honestly, it's good to have both, because sometimes you want to go buy your game because it's got a cool cover art or something, you want to put that on your shelf, and sometimes you're like, hey man, game X, I really just thought I wanted to play it, and I should do it, and you can go sit on your couch and download it and play it immediately. So, both are good. But anyway.
But then that section of the conference ended with, again, Shuhei Yoshida being a fucking boss, where he just like loads up, like while he's playing, it looked like a Twitter app or whatever. Or like I think he takes a screenshot, and then like on the screenshot he tweets out the screenshot with like the phrase "Let's start the show," which he like clearly typed in using the touchpad on the DualShock 4 that looked like it was really responsive, which looked really nice. It was like, fucking yeah, it's just a cool, classy fucking way to start off your press conference. Just like no bullshit. Here is the goddamn OS of the game. Like you can just here you go. This is how you get into the live stream, and you can just jump into a goddamn multiplayer match, and you can take a screenshot and tweet it all out while you're playing the fucking game. If you want to just spam your friends with pictures of like Killzone Shadowfall, which looks fucking beautiful. Like that game looks so good.
That's definitely going to be one of a day one purchases.
Yeah,
for me,
yeah.
Just
like I think that's probably going to be the first game I play on the PS4, because it's like I was thinking about this because I have the Watch Dogs PS4 bundle pre-ordered, because it was like that was the one that I could get day one. But I was like, it feels weird that like you buy a console and the first game on that console should be a first-party title. I don't know.
Right.
Like I have like this like Sonic the Hedgehog, fucking Super Mario 64, Halo, and then fucking with Xbox 360. I don't even remember. I get the Perfect Dark Zero. It wasn't the first game I bought, but it was the first game I played. It's just first-party titles should be the first fucking thing you play on your new console. So. Yeah. Killzone Shadowfall will probably be the first thing I play, because I have weird idiosyncrasies about that kind of shit.
Also, Watch Dogs is not coming out day one if I want.
Well,
is it?
It'll be interesting to see, because, Watch Dogs launches, because the PS4 comes out on a Friday, Watch Dogs comes out on the following Tuesday, so it's like a 4-day difference. So I think it's totally feasible that they might release Watch Dogs on the PS4 when the PS4 launches.
Because there are launch bundles that say they're coming out day one with Watch Dogs. So
yes, like mine is.
Right, I forgot, because I got just a bundle one.
And it's interesting because, like, Watch Dogs on Amazon and like every other like online retailer I've checked, it has not like confirmed that the PS4 version comes out on November 15th. Like, it just says like November 22nd or whatever, not 22nd, 19th. That's what this release date is. And so, like, I don't know, like, nobody has officially said that, and it's awkward because they've said for a long time Watch Dogs is a launch PS4 title, but it's like the launch date's just before, but it seems close enough that I'm willing to bet it'll probably just come out, because, like, why wait for the fucking Tuesday? Like, all the copies will have been made and in the stores at that point.
Right, and they would have to do something about all the launch bundles they sold, because Amazon wasn't the only one. I presume you ordered from Amazon?
Yes, I did.
But I also know Best Buy had bundles like that. So, yeah. And they can't rip you off. They promised day one.
Well, I mean,
they could send Watch Dogs separately on Tuesday, I guess, which wouldn't be bad. It would just be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so... anyway, so yeah. But after that opening with, Yoshida and the PS4 interface, they went back and did some PS3 and Vita stuff. And I really liked this part of the conference.
Yeah, there was a lot of healthy focus on the Vita that I was really...
Yeah.
I liked. I was like, yes, let's talk about the Vita.
And let's get into that in a second, because I like how they've kind of embraced what the Vita has become, which is this great indie game machine.
Yeah.
We'll get into that in a second. For PS3, their big things where they talked about Gran Turismo 6,
yes,
which looks like it's a good racing game. That's coming out in December. So, I mean, they were very clear that if you've got a PS3 and you don't have the money or don't want to upgrade to a PS4, you're not being left in the dust.
Yeah.
There's good stuff coming out. There's that. There's the Little Big Planet hub they spent a good chunk of time on.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a Stephen Fry narration kind of thing, which is in the other Little Big Planet games. But it's this free-to-play, basically, hub online world. Yeah. It's like Little Big Planet, all the, like, creation tools without the actual game part of it, I guess.
That's what it... Yeah, like, they didn't go into detail with it, but yeah, that's what it seemed like.
Yep. Then they talked a little bit about how GTA 5, it's going to have a PS3 bundle.
Yeah, they talked about that stuff at E3.
Right.
So, yeah.
So all that GTA 5 stuff, and then the big thing was PS3 price drop down to $199 US, 199 euros.
For like a 12 gigabyte flash version of the PS3.
Right.
It's like, hey, if you don't have a PS3, I technically don't own one, but at this point, there's almost no point to get one. But yeah, like, it seems like, sure, go aheed. Get that one.
$199. There's tons of good games.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm pretty sure those come with like Uncharted 3 or something like that.
So. Right. So yeah, lots of great games. Get a PlayStation Plus subscription. You'll have all you can ever play.
Yeah.
Let's see. Then we got into the Vita stuff, and really it was just they did first. I guess they had the announcement that Borderlands 2 will be on Vita.
Yeah, that seemed really interesting. Like I wasn't expecting that. Like, yeah, cool. Yeah. Borderlands 2 is a good game.
Yeah, I have not played it, but I might play it on my Vita. That could be fun. But then really it was a lot of indie stuff. There are a lot of indie titles coming out for the Vita. And I don't have a full list here, but it was a lot of... And many of these are coming out for the PS3 also, and they'll be cross-play.
Yeah.
But mostly
then a lot of them will probably also end up being on the PS4, I would imagine.
Right. But that was pretty cool. I don't know... What exact titles? Do you remember any of them?
I think the big new title that is like, this is going to be on the Vita only, because it seems like it makes use of the touch interface and stuff, is Murasaki Baby, which is like... That trailer was fucking awesome, because it was like 2D, sort of like hand-drawn style, like this really like weird, grotesque, like gothic universe where it's like you have like the Murasaki Baby's like 5-year-old looking girl monster where like head's kind of upside down, like she's got on her forehead is a mouth, and she's like carrying a balloon, and it looks like you like guide her along using the touch interface. It just looked like a really cool, weird, stylish game that's only going to be available on the Vita.
Right.
And other than that, like there is I think his name's Thomas Bissell, the dude who made Thomas Was Alone, which is a really good indie platformer. His new game, Volume, is going to be out on the Vita and the PS3 and probably the PS4. They like confirmed that. And there was just like a lot of like Fez, which has been like this like on everything. Like it's a lot of games that are just like, this is a really big popular indie game, and there's going to be a PS Vita version of it, which is like, yes, good, thank you, please. Because a lot of those indie games tend to be like smaller 2D titles, which are those are the kind of games I prefer to have on a handheld device, because it's like if I'm waiting in between my classes or something and I want to play a game, I like just having like a simple 2D style game, and so many indie games harken back to that style of video gaming that's like, yes,
Yeah.
They're perfect mobile titles.
Yeah, so they did a good job just pitching the Vita as something where, if you buy it, it's got a lot of support with smaller games, but very good games. I was a little surprised they didn't push anything that they didn't have like a big first-party title to announce for the Vita.
Yeah, they've hinted that there is something in the works that they haven't announced yet. But like to me, at this point, like I don't even know if I really want one. Almost I like the Vita, because the thing with the Vita is that it's more. It's not like it has like a bunch of great exclusives to me. It's more like this is a device that just lets me play these other games that I'm interested in, but allows me to play them on the go, which is something that is an advantage in and of itself that like I'm very interested in.
Right. I think the Vita has kind of found its niche, and hopefully they can expand on that. Yeah. And, definitely there was a lot of stuff throughout the PS4 part of the conference, which we'll get into in a minute, that suggested that the Vita is so important, not just for the remote play stuff, but that pretty much any indie game that's coming out for the PS4, you'll be able to get day and date on your Vita too. So it will be a really nice companion for this PS4 era.
Yeah.
And that's cool. And the Vita is also getting a price drop. It's $199, same thing as the PS3. All the memory cards got a price drop, not nearly low enough, but they're better.
It's a start.
Yeah. So if you don't have a Vita, fucking buy one. Get Persona 4 Golden. Yes. Get some indie games. Somewhere in here they announced Hotline Miami 2 is going to be an exclusive on the Vita and PS4. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, Hotline Miami is a great fucking game. So
I have not played it yet.
I played it. Like I'm curious to play that on like something that's not PC because like it is a really fast paced game, and I'm like curious just to see like. Just how you control that game is so important. It's not necessarily like you need to have a mouse and keyboard because it's not like a first-person shooter or something. But it's like I almost kind of want to buy because I know Hotline Miami I think is already available on the Vita.
Yeah, it's a cross-buy.
Yeah, I might just end up buying that game again, just like because I want to play it again. But like just to like see what that's like with a different control interface. Probably just going to completely change that game. But
right. Luckily, the Vita has a really good D-pad.
Yeah. So
all right, so let's move on. So then we got into PS4. Mark Cerny comes out to kick off that part of the conference. Always nice to hear from Mark Cerny.
Yep,
smart guy. Let's see. I don't know. This live blog I'm on is not hugely informative, but basically, I think Mark Cerny kicked off another part of talking about indie games. He talked about a lot of stuff that's coming. To PS4.
Most of the focus of the console in general, or of the conference in general, was here are all these indie games that's like are going to be. Like all of these were seemed like they were going to be temporary console exclusives. Now that the Xbox One has self-publishing, eventually these games will make their way over there. But if you want these games first on a console, you'd have to get a PS4.
Yeah, so they had games like Everybody's Gone to the Rapture and Rime.
Yeah. Rime looked really interesting.
Rime looked cool.
The visual style of it was really striking.
Yeah.
It sort of had a very Team Eco, like Shadow of the Colossus, but mixed with Wind Waker sort of visual style that looked cool.
Yep. And all of them looked pretty neat. There was definitely a lot of stuff where it was like, I kind of like the idea that with my PS4 I'll be able to buy some really great AAA titles and stuff, but then in between I'll just, maybe every week there'll be a nice $10 title to buy. Exactly. And just not big financial expenditures, but really good experiences.
And then also those just seem like they are really good games for PlayStation Plus, where it's just if you have this... It seems like the PS4 is going to be able to gather such a large library of such diverse titles so quickly that PlayStation Plus on PS4 is, I think, going to get its foothold a lot quicker than you would imagine a new console would be able to do. It's because most consoles they launch and it's we've got our 15 or so launch titles, and then with the Wii U, you go for months without having anything new, and new titles on new consoles tend to be very sparse. Whereas with the PS4, it's not like they have a massive launch library. They only have announced 3 launch exclusives, and with the addition of a shooter that they announced here, to an analog stick shooter. They've only got a handful of exclusives and launch titles, but over the course, especially once you get into 2014, it just looks like there's going to be 100 games on that fucking system by the end of the year, which is crazy.
Yeah. And I forget, what's the indie game that's coming at launch free on PlayStation Plus?
That was the one that I was talking about, where I can't remember what it is. It's made by it's made by the guys who made Super Stardust HD, which is on the Vita and the PS3, which is a really great Geometry Wars style twin stick shooter game.
Yeah, and it looks really good, and it feels like just day one we'll have a really fun indie game to play.
Yeah, it's
for free.
Yeah, it's if when the Xbox 360 launched, it's just here's Geometry Wars. Just take it.
Yeah. So...
But yeah. There was that
Resogun.
Resogun, that's it.
Yeah, Resogun looks really good, and that's coming out day one, free with PlayStation Plus, and Drive Club PlayStation Plus Edition, which is a sort of stripped-down version of it.
Yeah, it seems like it's like Drive Club with like a handful of cars and a handful of tracks, I think is what they said.
And then this was outside of the conference, but while we're talking about that, they clarified a little bit that you will be able to, from the PlayStation Plus version, upgrade to the full version. And I don't know if that means you have to pay the full $60.
I would highly suspect that's not the case. Like
right.
I would imagine it's probably going to be like maybe $40 or something.
Right, which I really want to play Drive Club, and I'll wait and first play the PlayStation Plus edition.
Yeah.
But if it's good, I'll totally upgrade to full. That sounds like a fun game.
Yeah, I'm totally down for some team-based racing.
Oh, absolutely. Let's see. So then they got into some of the big stuff. They talked about the Playroom, which was sort of an interesting trailer. It felt like kind of a remnant of the era when they would have had the PlayStation Eye bundled in, because it makes use of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Playroom is going to be downloaded on every single PlayStation 4, and it's a tech demo that they actually showed like in Gadget and Wired. Some people like had videos of it at E3. That's I don't know if like it's everything in the Playroom is like only for the PlayStation 4i or not, but it's just like sort of a tech demo of like showing you here's all the stuff you can do, like just fun, weird, like you can play with these robots and like kick them and stuff, and the camera will detect your movement and stuff. And it's like, hey, that's cool. I don't know like if I'll ever make any use of it, but they're just giving it to you, so why complain?
Yep. Then they got into some of the big titles: Little Infamous, Little Killzone.
Little Big Planet.
No Little Big Planet.
Yeah.
We already did that. But yeah, they did
but
some...
I did want to talk about the infamous Second Son stuff really quick, because that was an awesome trailer, and then like the day after...
It was really good.
Yeah, the day after that trailer, they like... what's the studio? Insomniac? They released Sucker Punch is the studio. They released a like sort of like a Bungie-style Vidoc thing of just like all the... Which is funny, because one of the guys, Jamie Griesemer, who was in the Sucker Punch, like infamous Vidoc, was a lead designer at Bungie on Halo 2 and Halo 3, and I recognized him because I watched all the Halo 3 Vidocs. I was like, holy shit, that's the fucking Bungie dude. And now he's over at Sucker Punch, and they like were just talking about sort of using the controller and stuff like that, and the neon powers, and it's just like Infamous Second Son looks so fucking cool. That trailer just showing the Fletch, who voiced by Reese herself, Laura Bailey.
Yay!
Yeah, nice touch. She, the main character, Troy Baker, Kanji, goes in.
Yay!
Kind of beats her
I didn't
up.
know he was in that too.
Yeah, no, that's
he's
Troy
in
Baker.
Everything.
Yeah, no, it is the age of Troy Baker. Like Nolan North has sort of taken a back seat. He's like, I'm handing off my torch to this young new voice actor. I think they're pretty much the same age.
They're both in their 30s. Yeah,
but. Yeah, it's the age of he's a fucking Joker. He's the main character in Infamous Second Son. But yeah, he beats up Laura Bailey and takes her neon powers. Then it's just like there's this amazing GIF from the Dev Diary thing of them showing that like the actual thing was actually kind of cool that they were talking about. And I'm glad they did this, because this is the first time I've seen anyone talk about a developer making use of the touchpad on the PS4 controller, because it was like, it's there, it's cool. I can kind of think of some uses, like, theoretically for it, but I wanted to see what developers are doing for it. It looks like Sucker Punch is just like, there's, like, a lot of little touches of just, like, when you go, like, open up a, like, door that sort of has, like, a fingerprint scan, like, you have to put your fingerprint on the touchpad and stuff like that. And there's just, like, when he was charging his powers up, they just, like, lightly put both their thumbs on the edge of the touchpad, and that was their charge thing. And it's like, oh, that's cool, because that just... It showed, first of all, that it'll be very easy to move from the thumbsticks to the touchpad without, like, then make very simple movements without, like, taking your hand off the controller or something. And then also just, like, will allow you to do stuff that will free up other buttons. But anyways, the important part of that was what they were showing when he was charging his powers was the main character standing, like, next to this neon sign. That you saw a little bit of this in the trailer, where he's pulling in... Where, like, at first I thought it was, like, electricity or something, but it's like, he's literally, like, absorbing the neon light itself, and the fucking lighting and particle effects on that was, like, that's what fucking next gen is. Like, just, this, like, all boiled down into this one gif of, like, it is fucking beautiful. Like, just the pink and blue and green lights just, like coming out of the sign and, like, sort of flowing around and absorbing into his body. It was just fucking looked so fucking good. And it's one of the only things that and the stuff from of Killzone Shadowfall they showed here was like all the like it's not necessarily just like the 1080p resolution and all the detail and the textures. It seems like it's a lot more about awesome fucking particle effects and lighting effects, and that I am 100% behind that because that makes games look really cool.
Yeah. I'm excited for that game too, and I'm also kind of happy that it's not coming out till February.
Yeah.
Because then I have a time to play Infamous 1 and 2, which are on PlayStation Plus if you want to get caught up. And if all that stuff was coming out day one, that would be overwhelming.
Yeah.
So anyway, they've got a lot of good stuff in the pipeline. After talking about those games, they took a little break to talk about all their video apps coming. They were just kind of assuring us again, we've got everything.
Yeah.
Don't worry. They're
making a Gran Turismo movie.
Yep.
That's interesting. And also this is like another thing that came out is I think it's actually they announced it here, right, where Ubisoft is making a Watch Dogs movie.
Yes.
It's just like, okay.
Yeah, whatever.
It's just like I think it's funny that all these like people are jumping on the video game movie before we've had the good video game movie yet. You know, it feels like everyone making like tons and tons of comic book movies before Iron Man happened. It's just
right.
like you should wait. Like you should just wait a second. You know, like let's.
I just don't get it because it's like we're gonna make all this money from the game and then go piss it away on the movie, which is gonna flop because video game movies flop. There are no hit video game movies. Never have been. Biggest one is I think Lara Croft 2.
Yeah, and probably
probably made a profit by a small margin.
Prince of Persia, I guess. I don't know.
Prince of Persia was a flop.
Yeah,
did not make its money back.
Oh.
Now that's also a fact that Disney spent like $300 million on it. You know, but yeah. So in any case, they also talked about their Music Unlimited service and that you'll be able to play your music while you're playing your games.
Yeah, which is nice. Like that's something the 360 could do, but like PS3 couldn't.
Yeah,
that is something I expected, but it's like okay, it's nice that you confirmed that.
Right. If you when you buy PS4, you get 14 free days of PlayStation Plus. So everybody gets Resogun for free. Everybody gets Drive Club for free. So that's pretty cool. Then we got back to games and stuff, and we had the big Assassin's Creed 4 demo, which was the longest demo of the conference, right?
Yes, I believe so. Like Ubisoft when they came out, like they had. It seems because Ubisoft also has a lot of exclusive content for Watch Dogs and Assassin's. They have 60 minutes of exclusive content, which is like a really weird way. It's not like we've got 3 missions or we've got like 1 mission or the exclusive character. No, we've got 60 minutes of exactly 60 minutes of exclusive content. Not 59, not 61. 60 fucking minutes of exclusive content, both for Assassin's Creed 4 and Watch Dogs. So
yeah, there's that sticker on both of them that says
which is good because since I'm already sort of like barreling down on the PS4 for my selected console choice, I'm happy that the games I'm most interested in for like this bullshit, I hate the stupid like temporary exclusive thing. I don't give a shit about Call of Duty. Don't give a shit about FIFA. I do give a lot of shit about Watch Dogs and Assassin's Creed 4. So it's lining up nicely for me right now.
It is, yeah. And those are two of the games I'm looking forward to also. So the Assassin's Creed 4 demo was really all about showing the seamless switching between the Vita and the PS4.
Yeah, that's right. They did remote play.
Yeah, worked pretty flawlessly, although their camera work on the Vita was poor.
Yeah. Well, it's because there's no video out on the Vita, so it's like you can't just take footage from the screen of the Vita. You have to film the fucking Vita. So it's not the most elegant thing in the world.
Yeah, so that was a little awkward, but it was still, game looks fun.
Yeah.
So, let's see. And then we had Ubisoft. It showed a Watch Dogs trailer that was fucking amazing. Loved that.
Yeah.
That was a great trailer. I've actually generally stayed away from watching trailers for these games outside of that, but I've seen the ones that have been shown at conferences.
Yeah.
And this was a really good one.
Yeah. Watch Dogs still looks awesome.
Yep. And then there was a kind of a weird announcement. They announced Minecraft is coming to PS4, but it was kind of awkward.
It was a really weird announcement because it was just like fucking. I think they started playing some Minecraft music, and then 2 dudes wearing creeper heads sort of just walked. Like they didn't even walk on the stage. They just walked in front of the stage and then like exited the other side. Like, and Minecraft is coming to the PS4. Like, here's the logo. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be there day one. I'm surprised they didn't, because it's also coming to the Vita and the PS3. And I feel like if as expected, there would be cross-play capabilities and stuff, you would want to spend 2-3 minutes on that. Because honestly, that's going to be a bit like I'm definitely going to buy Minecraft on the PS4 because I'm like that I'll just be able to move over to the PS4 and not have to leave that game behind. From the 360 era, and I hope it has cross-play with the Vita because that would be so much fun to be we were joking about this earlier, Sean and I,
Yeah.
before the podcast. I would be at home holding the right trigger and breaking some bricks. Then I could come to school and just in class, I could just hold down R on my Vita. I wouldn't even have to stop paying attention to the class.
You'd just be taking notes with your left hand and just holding down R on the Vita with your right hand. It's just like, I got all the fucking cobblestone in the world, motherfucker.
Yep. So, and I could probably reverse the thumbstick so I could hold forward too while I'm doing it. It'd be pretty great. So, yeah. So I'm a little
hassles for days.
Yeah. So hope that sounds cool.
I thought that was interesting because I had been under the impression that Minecraft was going to just continue to be a Microsoft exclusive thing. Apparently, that is not the case. I assumed that Microsoft gave Mojang just a giant pile of money and was like, "You're only releasing this on our platform and the PC." And then Mojang was like, "Sure, okay, we'll take the fucking money." And now they're like, "Well, no, we're going to do it on their platforms too."
Well, because Mojang would be crazy not to put this in as many places as possible.
Yeah.
So
it's like they're going to put the fucking Minecraft on the PS4, and all of a sudden they sell 5 million more copies of Minecraft.
Right. I own Minecraft. I'll be buying it again on the PS4.
Yeah.
Just so I can have it there. All right. So let's see what else we got. I guess this is when they announced those price cuts and stuff, and then they came out and announced. This is the last thing was the release date.
But there's one other thing that I may have missed where I thought this was just a weird, interesting detail that Twitch is also going to have bring their streaming service to PS4, where it's and it's a weird situation because at the February reveal when they talked about all the share stuff, it was all Ustream, and I assume Ustream is still going to be there as an option, but when Xbox came out, they were like, "We've got Twitch." Now it just seems like PS4 has Ustream and Twitch. I think they didn't there were some people who thought that meant that Ustream was not going to be on the console anymore, but since they didn't say that, nothing has been said about that, I just assume that it's they're going to be two separate apps, or maybe there will be a console side thing of just I prefer Ustream or I prefer Twitch because Ustream's really big in Japan. Twitch is a lot bigger over here and in Europe. So,
that makes sense, and having options is always good. If
Yeah.
Twitch was slow one day or something, you could switch over to Ustream.
Yeah, I just thought that was just a really interesting announcement because again, that was because that came right around the Minecraft thing, where it's just another thing that I assumed that Microsoft had in the bag. It's Sony's just comes out and is no, we've got Twitch too. I don't know. Twitch has said that it'll allow you to stream to Twitch from the console and watch Twitch streams on the console. So it seems like it's got all the functionality you'd want. So
yeah. All right, so let's see. What else we got to talk about? The release date. That was the big thing. The release date is November 15th.
I already said it earlier, but yes, November 15th.
And I think it's kind of funny because there's been all this speculation of, could it possibly come out in December? Could it possibly come out in early October? And it was
it was never going to come out in December. Late October was a possibility, but it's it was never going to come out.
But there's all this speculation, and then I love that it's literally just right down the middle, November 15th.
Yeah, it's the most sort of predictable release date they could have done.
But
I am so disappointed it wasn't my birthday. I was really how everything was aligning. I was just the fucking release date is going to be November 23rd, isn't it? God damn it!
And then you'll know you're dead.
But no, not this time.
It's November 15th, and I love this release date because it's a Friday.
Yeah,
so I can just get my PS4 and play all weekend.
Yeah, it's
perfect.
Very convenient.
Because I have a really busy schedule during the week right now, and GTA 5, I will not get to play it all day one because I'm gone all day, and that kind of sucks. But then, and I just wish games came out on Friday. That would be the perfect day for games because then you could just get it at 9 in the morning on Friday and play all fucking weekend.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome. But PS4 is coming out on Friday, so it's a nice, good weekend to just hang out and play PS4. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, and it's really close to the Thanksgiving
holiday
area, so it's
sadly,
more time to play some PS4 for me.
Yep. Although sadly we're going out of town that week. I may take my PS4 with me and just plug it into whatever TV we have. Might have to do that, but in any case, So pretty cool. And now we know we have to get $400. Scrape $400 together by November 15th.
$460 or $520, depending on how many games, or if you want to get extra controllers.
Right. And
consoles are expensive for reasons more than just the console itself is expensive.
Yeah, but that's the thing I keep thinking about. It's just there's so many games coming out. I think I'm gonna want to get at least like 2 games, like in boxed games, like Watch Dogs and Assassin's Creed 4 or Watch Dogs and
like Watch Dogs and Killzone are the ones I'm planning on getting on launch day, I guess.
Yeah,
and I really want to play Assassin's Creed 4 also.
Yeah,
so that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, but we'll see. And then at least luckily Drive Club is free in part. So, and then there'll probably be some other indie games, like I'm going to have to get Minecraft day one. There's another $20.
Luckily, I don't have to do that. So.
Right, yeah. Because you haven't been, like, addicted.
Like, I like fun games. I like enjoying my life and actually, like, doing something instead of just, like, holding the right trigger and hitting blocks. Like,
I wonder what kind of graphical improvements we'll get on Minecraft on the PlayStation 4. What will the particle physics look like on that?
Yeah, it's just like, the lighting is fucking amazing on these torches. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, look how cubed it is. Everything is just, the edges are so sharp. It's all anti-aliased and shit.
All right, so...
Runs at 1 billion frames per second.
November 15th, that's when the PS4 is coming out. Do you think Microsoft's date will be earlier or later?
Like this has been like the big question everyone's like thinking about online, and it's tricky because one of the really important things about picking your date is that like they are like manufacturing the physical consoles like right up till it, like they want as much time to be able to make as many consoles as they can to meet the demand, because both of these consoles are almost like definitely the PS4 is going to sell out on day one. Like they've already said, they'll have over 1 million pre-orders. This is like 3 months out, so that's
they've confirmed if you did not pre-order your PS4 before August after August, if you pre-ordered it after August 1st, you're not getting a console day one, basically.
Yeah. So it's like that's. So yeah, like they're both going to sell basically everything they have on the launch day. So you want to make as many consoles as possible to launch on that launch day. And so I don't know, because with the Xbox One, their launch thing has been really weird, where they reduced the number of countries they're launching in by like half, and it seems like there are a lot of just rumors going around behind the scenes of like they just are not there's a lot of issues with manufacturing in terms of like just getting as many consoles as they need to get out and stuff like that. So that information would lead me to believe that it would be like the week after, because the November 15th is 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, so it's like you actually have to get it out before Black Friday, at least in America. In Europe, who gives a shit? But maybe if they want to sort of like strategically get in front of Sony, like literally, they could launch the week before. Or if they want to be assholes, they could just launch on the same day, and then everyone just kills each other at the launch.
Right.
But yeah, like I would bet it's going to be the week after, is my guess. But
I think so too. I think,
fucking know.
And I just know generally when a tech company says our thing is coming out in month X, they mean the end of month X. That's every time Apple, for instance, has ever said it's coming out in this month, it means the end of that month.
Yeah.
And anytime I've seen the same from Microsoft on their PC side and some other things. And generally they do that because they can give people a specific month and stick to it, but then give themselves as much time as possible to get out in that month.
Yeah.
But who knows? They could also be adjusting their plans after seeing this, and they might try to get it out earlier. Maybe that's part of why they cut the order down to 13 countries. I mean, PS4 is launching in 32 countries by the end of the year. They're much bigger than the Xbox One. So
yeah, and I've seen a lot of like people, like particularly I think IGN had a video where they were like, the Xbox One should launch on November 5th because that's the Tuesday that Call of Duty Ghosts comes out. And there's like, I thought it was just a dumb video in the first place, and like other people have made that argument. It's a dumb argument for the same reason saying Ben Affleck is going to be a bad Batman is a dumb thing to say, because like you have no access, you have no idea what is really going on, like in terms of like how many units they have, how many units they need to get shipped out, how many pre-orders they have. You need to have that information to make any sort of guess about when the fuck their launch date is going to be. So I have, like, nobody has any fucking clue, because we have no clue what that actual data is like. But I really don't think it's going to come out like early November. Like it's either I'm guessing it'll either be the week before or after the PS4 launch.
Yeah, I think so too. So it's going to be interesting. They're going to be close together no matter what.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's going to be November. They have to be, and you can't be the last week in November. So
right. Because America is fucking crazy.
Yes. It'd be great if they just released it on Black Friday, and then everybody dies. Just everyone in America just kills each other.
I would stay home with my PS4 and board up the windows.
Exactly.
But be scary.
Yeah, it's exciting. We finally fucking know
when we get to play this thing.
When the PS4 is coming out. It's coming out mid-November. Like, my Amazon pre-order has already been confirmed to be launch day, so
yep,
I'm happy on that.
Mine too. Actually, it was kind of weird. Mine for some reason, right after the announcement came out and they changed things, was telling me I wouldn't get it till November 19th. And it kept saying that. I was like, why? And I looked online and a bunch of people were having that problem, and the way to fix it was to just change your shipping speed down to, I have Prime, I switched it down to 5 days instead of 2, then back to 2 days, and it was fixed. So I doubt it affected anything either way. That was just
probably, it was probably just like a computer error.
Right. So hopefully those come in nice and early on November 15th. Be a lot of fun. So now I know I have until November 15th to finish all my current gen gaming. Yes, or at least the current gen gaming I want to finish by November 15th.
Yes.
And I just wish Rockstar would put out GTA 5 on next gen consoles. Damn it.
Yeah, and if they're planning on doing it, I wish they would just say so. Like, give us a time scale, because I don't there are a lot of people who are very convinced that they're going to release a version of GTA 5 on the next gen consoles like a year later or something. I'm not so sure. Like, I don't know. For some reason, that doesn't seem like something that Rockstar would do to me. But
yeah, I mean, the only thing I could see is if they develop a PC version, it would be weird not to put it out on the next gen consoles at the same time because the architecture is similar. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing that they have not announced a PC version of GTA 5. So
right,
who knows? Like, there was never a PC version of Red Dead Redemption, so who fucking knows?
Yeah. Oh well, but I'm still excited for GTA 5. Disappointed it's coming out on a Tuesday. My Tuesdays are stupid busy.
Like, consoles don't have to launch on Tuesdays, but video games do for whatever reason.
I know, Tuesday's just always been a weird day to me. It's just kind of middle of the week, and it's like, I don't have, that's not the time I have to do stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree. There are reasons they come out on Tuesdays. I don't fucking remember why, though.
If PSN's digital version of GTA 5 you could preload, that would be great because I could start playing it at midnight and then play until morning and then go off and do stuff and just sleep through classes.
I think you can preload it because I'm pretty sure they leaked the soundtrack.
But I thought that was only in Europe that you could preload it, and I thought they got rid of
maybe
the
that's it. Like I knew that the leak came out of Europe, but I wasn't sure if the preload was only in Europe. I don't fucking know.
I could Google it. Vamp.
Yes.
Vamp.
It's not like that's the information that we do not have access to. But I mean, I thought that was interesting. I took a glance at the soundtrack list, and it seemed fine to me. But apparently there are GTA 5 spoilers out there, so be careful. That would be a really big bummer. Like, luckily there's not a whole lot going on with video games until GTA 5 comes out, so it's like I can stay off of places that would end up probably spoiling that for me, but that really sucks that got... I mean, that shit always happens, though. Like, there's always...
Right, it's such a big game.
Like, a couple of weeks before the big games launch.
Yeah. What I'm seeing is you cannot preload it in the United States. That Rockstar specifically forbid that. So... Oh well, and that will be... I see, if I could preload it, I would totally buy it digitally. Since I can't, I wouldn't, because that's day one, the servers, it's going to be such a slow download.
Yeah.
For the PS3, yeah. And I saw an interesting post where Rockstar on their blog said, we really wanted to put it on Xbox Live digitally day and date also, but...
Yeah, but Xbox doesn't do that for some reason. Like, they
won't let them.
I mean, they've definitely said that that's going to be on the Xbox One, but I have no idea why the 360 doesn't do that.
It's just strange. It's just... It feels like you're cutting out good profit there.
Yeah, it's a really weird thing, like, to have moving from the 360. Like, I play on the 360 and the PS3 kind of equally nowadays, but it was just like on the 360, it's a total shit show what is and is not available digitally. Whereas with the PS3, it's like the vast majority of games, at least like that have come out in the last couple of years, are all available digitally on their service. Yeah, it's like it seems really weird that there's not parity in that, because you would just assume for a multi-platform game, if it's available digitally on the PlayStation 3. It should be on the 360.
And that was a nice peek behind the curtains, because clearly Rockstar wanted it like that.
Yeah.
And it's beneficial to Rockstar to have it out in as many ways as possible.
Yeah.
So, oh well, I'm still fucking psyched for that game.
Yep.
We never talked about that online multiplayer trailer that came out.
Dude, it looks fucking cool.
Really ambitious.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that it's coming out October 1st, like after we've had a chance to play the game.
It gives you a chance to hopefully finish the main storyline, depending on how long the fucking is. But
yeah. I mean, that's the good thing, is that my Tuesdays are heavy, my Wednesdays are fucking light. get done at 3, go home, and I don't start till 11, so I could get up at like 6, play GTA 5 until, or I could just play GTA 5 through the night more accurately.
Yeah, like it's
go to sleep at 6, get up at 10, and go to class.
Yeah.
Then come back and play more GTA 5.
Sure.
So, who knows? I'm excited for GTA 5.
I'll probably just get it that day at like 2 or 3 and just sort of play it, and then I'll just play it the next day.
And play it the next day after that?
Yeah, I'll just play it when I have some free time to play it. Like, I don't know. Don't need to make like specific. Here are my plans.
I gotta have plans,
I'm gonna play it for 4 hours and take a 2-hour break, then play it for 6 hours. And it's like, fuck, no, I'm just gonna play it until I die. Like, that's my plan.
Yep.
Word for me, so I've survived that plan so far. I play it till I die or I finish the game. Still here, so.
Some people in like South Korea who have had that plan, not still here because they play unfinishable games.
Yeah, exactly. They play fucking StarCraft. Like, and that rule is you play until you finish the fucking match. You don't play until you lose all the nutrition in your body and you fucking pass out and die. Like, that's crazy.
This is a sad note.
How do we get fucking talking about that?
I don't know. Anything else to talk about this week?
There's one thing, because this is such a weird tangent that we got on, but with the South Korea StarCraft thing, it's an idea that has always fascinated me. The idea of, like, you literally play a competitive video game until the point where you collapse and die while you're playing the game. Because I always wonder, because, they play them online at, like, internet cafes, if, like, they, like, release the information of what that dude's, like, username was or whatever on, like, Battle.net. Like, what if you're the dude who played against the dude on the game where he died in StarCraft? Like, he died, like, what is that? Do you feel guilty? Like, do you feel culpable in some way for, like, is it my fault that, like, I was playing against him? Like, if I had not been playing, would he have taken a break? Like, that has always fascinated me. Like, someone needs to make a documentary and, like, find all that and just, like, figure out what the fuck is that?
I think that should just be the starting point to, like, a really, like, dark, like, sad indie movie where, like, someone goes on this, like, discovers their mortality and they do go on this soul-searching mission because they know they played a guy who died.
Yeah. And it's like, and how bad do you feel because you won the game of StarCraft? Not because the dude had to go to the bathroom, because he literally died while he was playing, and that's why he's AFK. Like, that's just like, it's just got to be such a weird... Because sometimes I play StarCraft 2 online, and it's like, I think about that when, like, the dude stops playing.
What if he died?
It pops in the back of my head. It's like, what if... I mean, this dude's not that great at StarCraft. I'd assume if you play StarCraft until you were dead, like, you'd be a really good StarCraft player, but this dude might be dead, or maybe he's getting a sandwich. I don't know. Either way, I'm going to destroy his fucking SUVs, so...
And see, this would have to be a scene in this hypothetical movie where the guy goes back to try playing StarCraft 2 again, and someone drops out, and he just gets PTSD flashbacks. Yeah. So...
Anyways, our podcast took a weird tangent there, but...
Yeah. So what else is going on in the world? Anything else, Sean?
I don't think so. Like, there have been some video games came out that I'm probably not going to really play anything until GTA 5 comes out. Like, I'm playing Dissect Human Revolution because it came out on PS Plus a while ago, and that seems kind of fun, but I'm not deep enough into it to say anything really about it. I'm
playing Mass Effect. I'm going to finish that trilogy, and then I've got a whole list of titles to get through, and... I saw it at Gamescom a lot more about Beyond Two Souls this week.
Yeah.
And that was a game where I was wondering whether or not I'd pick it up day one. I'm picking up that day one.
That'll probably be the game I play after GTA 5.
That looks fucking amazing.
Yeah.
That game looks fascinating. So, that'll be cool. Let's see, before we leave, this was our first day back at college. Any crazy stories?
Dudes, just giant fucking signs saying accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, just accosting everybody who comes past them. Like that was my crazy story.
Yep, and it's just I forgot. I always underestimate just how crazy the campus is going to be day one with all the fucking protesters and Bible thumpers and Xfinity people and
freshmen who look like children to me now.
Yes.
There in one of my literature classes there were some freshmen who was just like, you're like babies. What are you doing here? You're not old enough to be in this class.
Yep, and I have one kind of funny story. Okay. So you know how when you're walking through, especially our big sort of courtyard area called the UMC, which is this big building where there's the bookstore and shit. And
shit.
The bookstore is shit. Fuck that place. I had to go to that bookstore today, and I was like sitting in the cafeteria area drinking a Sprite and just trying to work up the courage to go in there.
Yeah.
Because it's like... You're going into the belly of the beast, man.
Yeah.
And I get in there, and I consider myself a good person on the whole. I don't ever want to steal things, but when I'm at the CU bookstore, I want to shoplift. I just want to steal everything, because I don't want to be there any longer than I have to. And I never do. I never do, but I want to so
Jonathan,
badly.
I think the way you play video games proves that you're not a good person, like, deep down, that the only reason you don't steal shit is just because of the societal pressure. It's not because you think it's a bad thing to do, it's because you know that people would punish you if you did it and got caught.
It wouldn't
that's really obvious to
I
me.
want to make this clear. It would not be a bad thing to do stealing from the CU bookstore, because that place is evil. That place is evil.
That may be a bit of an exaggeration.
That'd be like stealing from Satan himself. Just kidding.
You think Satan, just because he's kind of an asshole, doesn't get property rights? Like, but just because he's red and has dope feet, he's not allowed to own property? You fucking racist?
Sorry. All right, let me tell you my story, though.
Okay.
So, everywhere on campus, there's crazy people accosting you everywhere, handing you coupons and Bibles and coupons and
Yes,
and,
I have a
and
lot of
planners
coupons and shit.
planners and little handouts and shit, and I'm always looking for the nearest trash receptacle so I can recycle this shit. And so finally I'm like, I finished my class, I'm like walking back, I'm going to go to the library so I can get some peace and quiet while I'm waiting for, next thing to happen.
Yeah.
And I get in the library and I settle down and I'm reading a book and I'm like, this is like the first quiet moment I've had all day, this is so nice. And I'm reading it and someone taps me on the shoulder, I'm like, what's this? And someone taps me on the shoulder and I look around and this girl's walking around, she's like, would you like a free newspaper? I'm like, it's the library! This is the one place on campus I should be assured peace and tranquility. And like the funniest thing was she leans in, she's like, would you like a free newspaper? She was whispering, and then I said, no thanks. And she went around to the next person, same thing, like, would you like a free... It's like, fuck off!
Yeah.
Fuck off! Get out of here! This is the library!
But that's, but I feel like if it was me and I was sitting down in the library, someone would tap me on the shoulder and they wouldn't say something innocuous like, would you like a free newspaper? They'd be like, did you know that the Harbinger of Doom is coming and World War III is upon us? Because I attract crazy motherfuckers every time I go on campus.
You do. Sean has gotten in many debates.
With random fucking people who think that the onset of World War III is upon us and Armageddon is near.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you count your blessings that you just have someone asking if you want a fucking newspaper. Like, whatever, just be like, no, I don't need a newspaper. Like, that's not a big deal.
No, it wasn't.
Someone asking you if you realize that the world is about to end, that's kind of really annoying.
Yeah. It's annoying when it happens over and over and over.
Because, it's hard if I'm just, like, reading fucking, like, Frankenstein or something, and it's, like, kind of into it, and someone asks me if I realize the world's about to end. Like, now I can't just go back to reading Frankenstein, because now I'm thinking about how crazy that fucking person is, and how wrong they are in, like, a multitude of different ways. I can't, like, resume what I was doing, because now I'm completely preoccupied with deconstructing their bullshit.
Yes. Alright, so...
I think this podcast is done.
Yes.
In the bag. We've gone to too many tangents, too much stuff.
Yeah, we'll talk about more stuff next week.
What the fuck is happening now? I don't even know.
I have plans for next week, I'll tell you.
Okay, good.
And you'll learn about them next time.
Hopefully.